All right, so here we go. Another episode of the Eclectic Soundtrax podcast with the folks from All Stories In. So it's Chris and Matt, right? All right,
Yes,
cool.
sir.
No crazy names, just letters or just symbols or anything like that. That's cool. Just plain normal Texas folk.
Yeah, my parents were not original. Yeah.
Plain old Texas folk. Where's your Lone Stars, fellas?
They're hiding.
We've all had plenty of Lone Stars.
They're below the
I
belt,
bet
bro.
you guys certainly must have had, unless you don't drink. I'm imagining you had your fair share of Lone Stars and what are they called? Why can't I never remember this? PBRs.
PBRs.
Right? Yeah, on the that's because I drink them and I don't remember. Yeah,
Blue Ribbon.
Perhaps Blue Ribbon. But you guys just did a little Texas tour, part 1. Are you booking more stuff, more regional shows? Because you just did a stint, I guess a month or two back, wasn't too long ago, right? Where you're touring around a bit.
Hmm?
Yeah, so we just hit up a couple of places around town, or not around the state. First, we went to San Marcos, which isn't very far at all. Then we hit from San Marcos. What was that? Austin?
Yeah, we did. We just did like in Texas, like Southern Texas.
You did Laredo, right?
Laredo,
Yeah.
Houston, Austin,
Pflugerville.
Yeah.
Then you play Laredo, right?
Austin.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've never played down there. How was that? Scared me.
It's a learning experience.
Okay.
Guard
Note
George
to
Pitt,
self:
man. Guard
fuck
George
Laredo.
Was it like
No. Good people, good crowd, and all that. It's just you set your drink and either
okay.
1 second later, or a piece of gear.
Thought you were going to say they had chicken wire around the stage like they do in Roadhouse.
Now you're thinking of Blues. Oh, maybe they did in Roadhouse. You're thinking of Blues Brothers.
Before they fixed up the bar, it was like chicken wire, and Jeff Healy was sitting
All
there,
right.
you know.
Yeah, I
It was
remember
on TV
watching
the
that
other day.
movie as like a young teenager, probably 12, 13 maybe even, or and just remembering that scene. And then there's a scene where like one of the chicks like starts dancing around topless, like he's playing a song.
Yeah.
And then the whole movie is like such a teenage boy movie because it's basically just Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott beating people up and then tits. And it's just like
perfect.
Yeah.
it's like,
Do
when
it
are
kung
mom and
fu
dad
in
going to
his
go to
free
dinner so
time
I can
and,
watch Roadhouse with my dick out? I've already ruined your podcast. Sorry. The last few podcasts have been pretty mature, and then now I'm back to my old tricks.
Well, we had a classy girl on the last one, so
That's right. I can't say stuff like that in front of
We had to behave.
You guys
Yeah,
are
yeah.
you guys are a rock band from San Antonio, Texas. I'm not going to offend you. Yeah,
We can't
bro.
ask her if she saw Roadhouse, but yeah.
I feel like that'd have been a weird opener, right? Just that's how we should do with a different podcast. Just right off the bat, be like,
It's a great opener.
You guys ever
You're
seen
setting the
Roadhouse?
bar
You want
right
to fight?
away.
You think you can beat me up?
I've never seen Roadhouse. So.
Patrick
One more time, I
Swayze
think.
does karate. Sam Elliott blesses us with his voice. There's tits. Jeff Healy plays guitar. It's classic.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll check it out then.
I'm glad we got that out of the way. Okay, I was like, where
So
the
that
hell
was-
did
that
come
was-
from? Laredo.
Laredo, yeah,
is
chicken
what
wire
started
around the bar. Yeah. Sorry.
So, have you guys played? Where else have you played? Where's not McAllen? All in that down in the valley there. McAllen. There's Brownsville. Played down there a few times with RuneScarred, Corpus.
Yeah, El Paso.
I haven't played El Paso. Finally played
Kind of,
Rock
you haven't played El Paso?
House of Rock in Corpus. That's a really nice venue.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
tough
you
to get
mentioned
into,
some
but we
stuff.
finally, yeah, it's really nice. And they were very cool. There is, it's called Harlingen, the Hop Shop in Harlingen. Have you guys played there?
Yeah, no,
That's a cool place.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
some
it's a really good place.
all the time. Yeah,
I'd recommend that one. Yeah, man. So,
Noted.
like Vic was saying, didn't you guys play together recently? I said, oh, well, we played with you guys several times. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, so how did we meet? All I know is I recall Anthony, I forget his last name, Santos, I think, at Westfall, right, recording. And we had done a outreach there, and you guys had recorded there. And I remember us talking about that, but I don't remember exactly how we met. Go ahead.
I want to say the first time we really met, we were playing a game.
Really? Okay, and then maybe we just found that out.
And but before that, I think we were just friends on Facebook,
right?
As musicians and whatnot. But we finally met.
Oh yeah, okay.
If
that you're right. I do remember that because at that show you were a trio and you were playing guitar and keys. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
But you still do some. You still play keys some, but you're doing. I think you and I are similar. Like we play like these different instruments, and when Good Rogering started, I wanted to do keyboards and I wanted to be like Neil Fallon, and then I was like, oh wait, but I suck at singing, and so it took a while, and everyone's like, why aren't you playing guitar? And then I ended up back on guitar, and then kind of became the singer guitar player guy. But I do the same thing sometimes. I won't play, especially when you have a bigger band, when you have another guitar player, you have that, you can do that, which I love. And I've seen you've been doing that recently, which is cool. I like that you can, sometimes you're playing guitar, sometimes you're not, you're just fronting.
Yeah, for sure. I come from like theater, stuff like that. So it's a big deal.
Sure. Yeah, I can tell.
And when you're stuck at that point,
it's tough when you're fucking pedal dancing around, and if it's a trio, man, you're so busy pedal dancing and multitasking. It's very hard to have that balance. And so
that was always when we were a 3-piece that whole time. Like I was happy with the music and everything. It was just killing me on stage, man. I'm like, this is boring. I know it's boring.
Well, it's
we got to do something.
It's impressive. The impressive part of that aspect, though, was just watching you do the multi-instrumentation live was a cool factor to see. But I understand you 100% because I always felt kind of the same way as a trio. I wasn't so interested in like, it's the trio and I'm the centerpiece guitar hero guy. It's like, no, I want a big sound and I want to be able to have the freedom to play or not play depending, or just, put my guitar down and act like a jackass and get even more attention on myself. Yeah.
Just interact with people a little bit,
so totally relate to that. Now you guys started in 2000 what?
Well, okay, so that's kind of a story. In all seriousness, we started like in 2006. But there were some long hiatuses, people making babies and getting divorced and yada, yada, yada. And then probably about, when did you start?
Right before the album dropped.
So I'm going to say about maybe 5-6 years ago, we kind of rekindled the flame. We all got back into a good place. We were like, let's do this again.
When you say that, was it the same people? Like someone got married, had a baby, said, nah, screw this, got divorced, and joined the band again?
At first, yeah, it was. It was at first. And then things changed over time, as I'm sure you know. But yeah, it was. Initially, when we had all got back together, it was the original guys. And then my best friend, him and I have been playing guitar together for like 30 years or something. Kind of like, I assume, I don't know how you and your guys are, but y'all seem...
Yeah, I mean, the thing about a Good Rogering, I mean, it's actually pretty similar. I moved here. Vic's one of the first, probably my longest running friend here, or certainly one of them. I moved here in 2004. Vic, I think we met in 2005.
Yeah.
In a Spanish class, and then I just we had a blast. We had a blast, and we used to go to the old back room. We were over on the east side campus, AC&C. We used to go over to the back room. Right. That was the last year or two. It was around, and just shoot the shit, talk music, drink beers, and so we became friends. And then 2020 happened, and Vic was like, "I've been blessed with this amazing, robust, deep, beautiful Victor voice, and I'm doing voiceover work, and would you like to do a podcast?" And first I came, and then I said, "Yes, Vic, I would love that." So, but I mean, so we've known.
You didn't even clean it up.
I don't have time for that. But where the hell? I'm sorry, rant. I'm in a ranty mood, I guess. I'm over here talking about my love affair with Vic, and I got totally sidetracked. Oh, I know what it is. So at the time. I had like a cover band, and then I joined this band called Quarter Shackle, and then but I was always like, I want to have my own band. My brother was here; we were writing music. Blaine Mott, which you might know, who was from Quarter Shackle originally in the Good Rogering, we all started doing stuff together. Got our original drummer on board, so we started around conceptually 2007, and we were kind of writing. In 2008 is when we became a band and did a demo. You know what I mean? So it's kind of similar to you guys. I think we were around, and then we put out. For our first 2 albums, and actually we're, playing for a few years as a trio, and I'd have a guest musician once in Blue Moon, but then the same kind of thing happened, went on hiatus for over 3 years. And so then when I came back out, it was with some of the guys that I'm with now, like Sammy. So now Sammy is the longest running sort of member of the band, and Rom's been with us for a long time, almost as long. So 2016. So I feel like there is that. It takes time, right? And now it's like you really feel that gel. It's great because I feel like we can just, we had a rehearsal the other night. Now Tim's been playing with us for a few years. John Takanico's the keyboard. Everyone's been with us for a few years now. So when God damn it, how dare you? We're trying to run a tight professional ship here. Jesus Christ.
Fucking asshole.
Unbelievable. So
I didn't tell anyone.
But yeah, I think those things just take time, man, and it's nice when you get there.
It is cool. Like my friend, his name's Dustin. His dad was like kind of a local legend, taught a lot of people back in the day, and so everybody kind of knows this guy Dustin, and he always kind of lived in the shadow of his dad, so that used to piss him off all the time. People, oh, you must be like your dad. Like, fuck my dad. But yeah, we were real competitive, but like in a healthy, friendly way. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of drove us into places, and he had to back out eventually, and that's why.
Gotcha.
Now.
All right.
So, not to sound shitty, but you're the next best thing.
Yeah, I mean, there just was really no other option, and I saw this guy on the side of the street, and I said, "Hey."
Yes, that's how we got David. Yeah, no.
That's how you get the whole band. You just drive around like going yelling to hobos. Do you play guitar? Anybody journey?
Yeah. Well, I started teaching guitar at Sam Ash a few years back, and Matt.
Oh, that's cool.
A student of mine.
That's cool.
At a certain point, he got to a level. I was like, "Hey, man, you want to be in a band?" All anticlimactic. He's like,
dude, it's pretty awesome. Like I have students now that I've had for years. I mean, I've done so many over the years. Of guys that I started when I was Espinoza. One of our first guests we had on was someone that I met when that was probably 2006. I bet, Dick. Right around the time I started teaching.
Yeah.
Not long after we met.
Teaching at Strum.
Yeah, teaching at Strums. I had students that were teenagers or 14 years old that are probably 30 years old or something now, and it's kind of wild, and it's very cool.
That's
and
cool,
even even kids now that are still teenagers, and I'm like, Jesus, dude, you're really good. Like you should teach now. Like I didn't know. I was always like, maybe I'm not good enough, and and now I'm like, yeah, I could have been teaching.
It's funny you say
years because it's not more than most people. Even if you know your basics and you got you're fairly once in a blue moon you might get a student. I think I've had like 2 or 3 people in my entire tenure of teaching where I was like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Like one guy once I was just like, let's just jam because you're fucking awesome, but that's like so rare, most of the time it's like people that's why they're there, And then the rest of us take lessons from like Carter Arrington and shit. I don't know if you know who that is, but like total beast mode, like freaks.
Yeah. There's we got Ron
Jarzabek. No, I don't. He's the guy.
Yeah, he's
right. A local legend.
Yeah.
Speaking of local legends, man, this latest, and you guys played in. Apologies, by the way. You guys played Skunk Fest in San Antonio last year, which was a fucking disaster, unfortunately, but not completely my fault. a beautiful disaster without the beautiful part. I was like, this place is really cool. Great stage, green room, no sound guy. Well, that kind of puts a damper on a show now, doesn't it? Anyway.
Yeah. So actually, just on that note, I was there Friday, and some good buddies did like a little reunion show of their band.
Sure. I saw that flyer. Yeah,
they were around for a long time. Yeah, so they come back and they decided they were going to do one over there, and as soon as they got off stage, that's all. Yeah,
Jesus fucking Christ, dude! I don't want to throw people under the bus and talk shit, but it's frustrating because it's such a good
At
venue.
A certain point,
you've got a great, and I see all the bands. I see all these San Antonio friends of mine playing there all the time. I love the location. For me personally, I have my best friend who I've known my whole life, like lives 5 seconds down the road. The stage is great. They got a green room. It's a cool venue, but God, Jesus fucking Christ. How hard is it to get a consistent, reliable sound guy that actually knows his goddamn job? It's really frustrating, man. Yeah. Cheap cut corners, I guess. And I get it. It's, yeah.
Get what you pay for, man. Yeah.
I was definitely really disappointed, and not so much for me. It doesn't reflect well on my brand, but it was 2021. It was what it was. I wasn't expecting some massively gigantic packed house. But I booked friends of mine, bands that I like. I wanted us to all perform and have a turnout and have a good event. And it just got ruined because nothing even started until 2 or 3 hours after the fact, and bands had to drop. And we were in the midst of COVID and bands dropping with that. And it was a mess. But anyway, thank you guys for doing that, even though it wasn't the greatest.
Of course. Thank you.
And but we were talking about, so what made me go off on that tangent was thinking about Skunk Fest. And this year I'm doing very much a blues thing, right? And I've got different blues acts, guys from around the country even this time. And one guy that I didn't contact, but I remember seeing him years and years ago, and I think he's kind of a San Antonio legend, Ruben V. You guys know Ruben V, right? Everybody knows him, right? Like I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that dude in like 1998 when I moved to San Antonio, and like that's the first gigs I ever played.
To be honest with you, I think he's been doing this since like 89.
And he looks younger than us. That's frustrating. Like, I saw his picture and I was just or when I say us, I say me and Vic. I'm not talking to you. I'm like, bro, like this guy, there's no way he's probably not that much older than me, but I'm just like, damn, Ruben, you're holding up pretty well there, bud.
Yeah, I want to say
Jesus, really?
Yeah. I work with another guy, Sam Ash. His name's Phil. He's in that band, Eden Burning. And he's the same way, right? He's 58, but you might look at him and go, oh, he's like.
It's funny. For the longest time, I was like, coasting in my 20s and early 30s, and people would be like, oh, you look good, and you look like you're. And then all of a sudden, it's like I went from like looking like I was 29 to looking like I was 72 within like a year span, and everything turned white and just went to shit, and I was like, fuck. But
I still hit it, bro.
Vic still loves me, and that's all that matters.
There we go.
Anyway, so the band started in 2006 or something. Tell us.
Yeah, technically.
When did tell us about the first album? When did it come out? Where did you record it? Give us the rundown.
So yeah, like you were saying, that's the Anthony Santo. That's where he enters the picture, right? So we've done, some one-off like demos and stuff like that before, but it was really we were a garage band, man. Looking back, it was just garage. When we got back together, kind of that was the point. We were like tired of the garage. Let's do this for real. You know what I mean? So that was the whole point. Was we need a body of work, so let's go hit a studio and lay down an album. You know what I mean? And it was kind of just that, really. We all got back together, and the writing just happened. Like, it took like 2 days, and we had 13, 14
Holy
songs.
shit, man. Wow.
And I'm not even joking, right? Like, just me, the drummer, and the bass player got together, and we just pounded all this stuff in one day, man. And, we took time to develop it later. But
yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I like writing that way, when you just kind of, sometimes you jam, you get the embryo, and then you cultivate
we just had all these. I can clearly remember there's 3 of us, right? We all look at each other, and we're like, holy shit. Beer? But
that's the real motivation. Let's write this album real quick so we can get some beers. Come on, let's get this done.
But yeah, it was a pretty cool thing, man. It doesn't always work that way, but that day it did, man. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, we went to talk to Anthony Santo.
Westfall Recording, which
I forget the name.
Yeah, he was out of. I think he might have used to work in New York. I think there's one in New York, and then he relocated here. He was great to work with. He was.
I believe so. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Actually, it was pretty. Sometimes you kind of butt heads or you don't see things. He was pretty.
I was kind of for us. We we did our Outer Reach single with him, and I've worked with different engineers and stuff. And I'm usually pretty hands on producer wise. I know what I want and I write all that kind of stuff. But I usually look at it as an engineer and a co-producer a lot of times, which is great. And I was, I kind of worked with some of the same group of people quite a bit. And then I started just kind of branching out and wanting to work with different people on different projects and records, and which I think has been really personally good and valuable for me, because I feel like I learned different things. And we all, at this point in time, most of us have some kind of DAW, and we kind of know, we can pre-produce and do our own stuff and even mix to a certain degree. But, you seek out different professionals. But that's something I've been kind of enjoying. And so, yeah, I mean, even just doing that one song with him, there was, just like with anyone, there were certain things I was like, oh, that's a cool, interesting thing. That's one thing I really like. I mean, we played on his drums, and I was like, I got really ambitious. I was like, I'll drum, and then it was like, no, you won't. And then he drummed, and we were like, it's cool, but fuck it, let's get Rom in here, and let's get our drummer on here. So I'm glad it took a little extra time and a little extra money, but we were like, yeah, let's do that. And one thing I love about that is we had a song that my brother and I had written, and we had the acoustic, it was acoustic guitar with some percussion demo and vocals. And then we went in there and I just made up a bass line in the studio because it had no bass. And he just had and I love that bass line. And then I love playing bass actually and writing bass lines. And then it's probably one of my favorite guitar tones I've ever tracked actually is the guitar solo on that song is just I think it was a Telecaster that he had through a little orange amp, and it sounded fucking great. I love the tone, man. So everybody has different shit that's always kind of, cool and unique. And
sure.
Now, do you guys go ahead?
I think. Oh no, I was just gonna say the part that I probably enjoy, like you're talking about doing the producing. I like to really all the vocal choreography and all the harmonies and all the how that's gonna go down. Really, we like to pre-plan all that stuff. It's pretty much. When we go in the studio, it's going to end up whatever.
What's funny about me, and I say funny meaning I'm probably irresponsible, but I write really fast. I either write really fast or I don't. It's because once I get in that headspace, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I get it, right? Because it's like you get an idea and you roll with it, and I'm absolutely, like, let me just wing some harmonies. And I'll put a song together in a couple of hours, and the whole fucking thing with harmonies and all of it. The problem is then I never really go back to it until I go to record it. And then I'm kind of going back and going like, okay, I like all this. What the fuck is it all? Right. And kind of having to,
gotta go
yeah, exactly. And I've even done that. We were talking about this with Atlas Miller on the last podcast. Rick, I think about tracking in the studio and capturing the magic of, solos and stuff. Well, these guys are more jazzers, world music guys, but there's something about that. A lot of times in the past, if I record a solo in a demo and I like it, I'll either go back and relearn that because that's what came out of me organically, and I don't want to try to force something else. I'm like, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That was the solo. It came out in the moment when I was writing the song and the energy was there. And maybe I'll relearn it or I'll just go. Now, that's another great reason to have DI shit, right? And then you go like, well, cool. I'll just reamp this thing and do whatever I want with it. So do you guys now, though, do you have a post that, have you been using different places for your singles, or you have a certain place you're going in San Antonio? Where have the singles been recorded at?
Well, kind of like you. I like working with a lot of. It's good
to
cross pollinate and try to know as many people as possible.
Yep.
It's all about people, right? So I'm always trying to do that. The singles we just put out, they're part of the
cool.
upcoming EP.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
So we recorded all those at the same place over at Stone Creek Sound in Helotes. And the producer over there, his name is Mac Damon. And he's good, man. He's got a really clean sound, man. He's very, very...
Yeah, they sound great. And I love all the artwork, too. Who's doing the artwork?
That's a good friend of ours. His name's Rahul Longoria. And his wife, they weren't married at the time, but I collaborated with her on a couple songs while they were getting engaged and all that stuff, and he just happened to be a graphic artist, man. He was doing stuff for a few other bands, and I like his eye. I like what he does.
Yeah, and more, just like you said, you start out. I can remember going back and being like, you're so excited when you have your first demo, and then you go back, and you're like, well, okay. But at the time, it's like exciting, and you're just booking gigs, and you don't. And then you go back, and I mean, a good Roger is just stumbling through everything. It's like we didn't have a logo, we didn't have a direction, we didn't have anything, and like over the years I've kind of like, for better or for worse, slowly sort of made it a brand of whatever the hell it is, but I mean it's like all of that kind of stuff. I think you learn it's like the importance of that. And so now it's like on this last album, it's like, yes, I'm outsourcing and hiring a professional artist. It's all that
they got their
and it's like, some people are really good and gifted at that, and like I feel like my strengths are probably a lot like you. It's like, I like performing. I feel comfortable as a performer, and I'm really good in like a studio in my creative juices. But when it comes to the visual medium, like, or coming up with that, I hate that shit. I stink at it. There's a few times I've tried to make a flyer, and I think I've made some decent flyers. I've done some of this past Skunk Fest flyers. I've done certain things, but usually if I start doing something, it takes me forever for starters. And secondly, I've done some things and then someone else will be like, oh, well, let me take a look at it. And then they come back and I'm like, oh my God. Like, okay, so that's what real art looks like. Like why am I fucking spending I think you got to find what you're good at, roll with that and find out how to delegate to the two reasons.
Yeah.
One, you're not great at everything. Two, time man, you can only have so much freaking time, right? And all these things take time to be done correctly. So props on that. And I think you can tell when an artist is working with professionals.
Yeah, it really just comes down to that, right? You don't spend your time playing music or making flyers. And it's,
it really does come down to that, man.
I think back in the day for me, like I used to run, I don't know if y'all are, I'm sure you're familiar with Midnight Rodeo.
Here in San Antonio?
Yeah, I was there in Austin. It's closed down. It was a corporate thing, but I worked for them. Wasn't that right? Yeah, it was right off.
Yeah, I think that's like a fucking beer garden now or something. Yeah, okay. Pint house.
Yeah, it's been closed probably a year or two now, but
right.
They were around for like 30 years. Anyways, my whole point there was I was a traveling manager for them, and I'd go around and I ran all these country bands. And that's all I did for like 7 years, right? So contracts, paying them out, all this shit. So I really paid attention to like their merch and their, like what's selling, and I pay very close attention, almost taking notes like I'm in school, right? Because I knew when I left there one day,
that's great.
I want to sell this shit. I don't want to have a table full of stuff that I don't, So I kind of draw from that. I think about what they did and what I saw them. And I kind of approached our stuff the same way. I'm like, well, that's eye-catching like their stuff was, and it sells, and it, what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm the best at it,
but it's important.
It's been okay.
And it's super important. I mean, one thing that worked for us while we were kind of stumbling around finding, I feel like the band, just like talking about the roster itself for me, it's like having the bigger band now with the fuller sound is what I always wanted. I feel like our the new album it took a lot of time, not to say that I think, the older stuff's not cool in its own way, but I'm like, this is kind of what I always wanted the band to be. And I finally got it there. Right. And the merch and stuff starts to work with that.
Sure.
And it's just a process of kind of going there, but yeah, all those things matter, man. Like the visuals matter, having videos matter, like this is how the music business works as much as everything has changed. And even with streaming the internet, I mean, there's still, it's still the way it is. You put out music, you have a video.
I'll be honest, when it comes to that stuff, I mean, people come to me and like, sometimes they're just being polite, but sometimes they're being legit, and they're like, man, you guys look really professional and blah, 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 blah. And, and here's me, right? And I'm like, well, I'm just looking at this guy going, fuck him. He looks professional. What is he doing? I'm trying to
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's always somebody doing it better. You're trying to like, damn.
That's exactly. And you gotta try to emulate that and figure that out. And that's the Rubik's Cube analogy that never ends in the music business. And like, and you learn one thing and you're like, oh boy, now I got to learn how to do this shit, And speaking of contracts or, or booking and touring and recording, it's all these different hats you got to wear and things you got to figure out. And I think that does.
A frontman, that gets pretty tricky too, because people are expecting a certain thing, and then you got to be the hard ass, and they don't.
That's why I'm just like everyone that has like management, and booking, and all these things. I'm like, I'm so jealous. I want that fucking firewall, like, because I'm not good at being a dick, but I want someone else that I can be like when I'm like, are you kidding? No, fuck this guy, and then someone else can be like, I'm so sorry, he's not available. Instead of me being on like Messenger, like, I guess so, and I'm like, I hate myself. It's just like
Matt's the
someone's got to do it,
I'm
man.
the bad cop, probably. I would guess.
Well, props to you. You gotta. I mean, there's a way to be cordial about it, but you can't say yes to everything. You can't take on everything, and you got to start looking at it. When you actually start looking at your band, it's fine if it's a hobby. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're looking at it even as a hobby, but as something that's monetary that you want to, brand and try to sell merchandise and make money, all these things matter, and you have to make business informed decisions, right? I mean, I think for the guys that stay in the ring and get anywhere, at some point,
the longevity,
you kind of become savvy to that. There's really no way around it. But man. So tell us about, speaking of music videos and the professional. I mean, so especially your latest one, like you've gotten some good traction on these singles, but Taurus did really well in particular. And I think there's a story behind this, but I can't remember what it is about the boxing and everything. So tell us about about this song, the origins of the song, how that and how that segued into the video, how all this came about.
It actually goes back to the lyrics, the lyrical content goes back to what I was talking about when I was running the bars, right? So I used to get called over to break up fights and stuff all the time, and I'd have to check their IDs and get with the security and talk to cops sometimes and stuff like that, right? Well, there's I would see this stuff all the time, right? Every night you're dealing with this at least a couple times, right? And everybody's drunk, they're drinking. Usually, what happens is somebody goes to hit somebody else and they miss and hit the and then it's on, right? They're all fucked up and they just miss.
I'm going to say something real fucked up here in a minute, but continue.
So, no, that's fine. So basically what happened was I walk over to one of these situations. I don't know what's going on, right? But I could see that, the guy who did the tagging was an older guy and he was there with his old lady or whatever. She's a good looking woman, right? And then there's some dumbass kid who's like, barking up his shit or whatever. And he just lost his patience, man. He sat there for like 30 minutes, probably 45 minutes, trying to be the adult and be cool about it. And his patience wore thin, right? So I got to check their IDs and all this stuff. And I'm a Taurus, right? So I know what that's like, right? I know when you finally snap and you see red, I know what that is, And so I'm checking the guy's ID and I was like, oh, he's a Taurus too.
All
right?
good. Carry on. So
so I wasn't too mad at him. Yeah, I was just like, you're going to have to call it a night tonight, but you're welcome back tomorrow. Come on, So that's kind of what that's about. It's just about a bar fight.
Okay, so where did the
the boxing thing translates in? You could run into the same thing in a boxing ring, right? Where, you have a young buck and an older guy with a little more skill. Young guys coming out hot and heavy, just kind of plays him for his youth.
The Rocky Balboa trick. Rocky.
Yeah, I was also getting into boxing a little bit, right? So one of my students, he took boxing at that gym.
And
I was.
And that's the gym where you film. What is that place?
Oh man, what's the name of the place? Ferocious Boxing Gym. It's right off 281, kind of by the airport.
Yeah. Vic was
but it's cool. Yeah. So basically, I just started going there and I started talking to people and then made friends. And I was like, "Hey, you guys want to box in a video?"
Vic, my wheels are turning, dude. I'm getting an idea now. See,
are you?
So,
I'm always trying to tie the videos into something, right? So, like, I tried to tie one into, like, steampunk. Tried to do one where it's, like, drug culture. Because all the kids love that shit, right? And old people, too.
Everybody loves drug culture.
Something else? Furious. What was Furious? That was kind of a cyberpunk. We were trying to, like, riff on that. And so I'm always trying to tie into something that hopefully that maybe it'll...
And when you do these videos, and do you have like kind of a generalized? It sounds like a kind of a conceptual idea, and then you find someone else to sort of direct that and make it specific, or do you really know exactly what you want? Oh, you do. Okay.
I kind of know exactly what I want.
You do.
I usually I draw it all out and storyboard it. Yeah, and then I basically end up directing it and everything when I'm there. Because the guy he's just carrying a camera, right? Last time we did it ourselves. We filmed it ourselves. But previously, I'd always hire a dude to do that because I don't like doing video editing.
Man,
all that
that's part of why I don't like to do my own albums either. I fucking hate all that. I've done a lot of editing and I hate it. It
takes the magic out of it, man.
It's a tough part. I'm very much love being there with my production hat on and in the mixing process but the nitty gritty stuff is that's like, and same with film.
I want to still I want to still like it.
You got to trust. That's putting trust into someone to go. Okay, I trust you to pick the best takes. I trust you to find the best footage. And then the last The Good Roger video was really great because I just really it's not my forte. But we had gone and done the whole live band thing like we had done once before, and I was like, that's cool. We've got some live footage, but I really want a storyline. I really want to do something here, and Vic can attest to this. So I mean, I had an idea, and I had a pretty reasonable idea. I think I even did storyboard and had kind of a line of shots, but we also had magic that just happened on the spot because it was very last minute. Vic was in the video. I called people like, hey, can you be in a video tomorrow? Because I was waiting on a location. The perfect location came through. I rounded up whoever I could. I had talked to a few guys. A couple of guys couldn't make it. So Vic came in and everything was just magic. Like all those little nuances that people brought and the creative ideas in the moment just elevated everything. but I had it, but I at least had the storyboard. I knew what I wanted shot by shot, and then got when Mark Coronado did that video, and so then getting with him after the fact, just for the fine tuning and the editing of it, I actually had a blast doing it, but
yeah, it's fun, man. I love doing that stuff.
How much time, right? How much time? And my thing too is like, I don't know, for whatever reason, like if the creative moment strikes me, like I said, I feel like I can really lose myself in a song and put together a song it either happens or it doesn't. But in the video world, it's not like I just wake up and storyboard a video. Like that's much more difficult for me for some reason to conceptualize that. I don't know why.
It depends. Like the first video we did was for the Devil Play.
That was
song,
before.
right?
Was that
Devil Play?
Wait, was that before the album? Or am I wrong?
Though I think we did put it out before the album. I think.
Oh, but that's
or maybe the video came out after that. But the song came out
on Spotify. Oh, so I see. That's on the first album, but you put it out as a single. Gotcha. Okay.
Correct.
Just like you said, you're doing. Well, you said you're doing that with these last three, right? Echoes, Furious, and Taurus are all on an upcoming EP.
Well, Echoes, Let the Devil Play.
Echoes is on
singles.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Oh yeah, that's 2019.
Yeah. That's the steampunk video, right? So the only ones we have from the new one so far are Furious and Taurus, and the logo changes with every album.
Wait, what?
Is kind of the idea. So you can tell them.
Oh man,
I don't know if you can see that or not. But we change our logo for every album.
Really cool idea. I've actually got a shirt with your old logo, and I noticed that. I think you're wearing that, aren't you? Of the new one, yeah. That's a cool idea that you change. Yeah, I've noticed some bands are real consistent, but some bands don't seem to be. So it doesn't make me feel so bad that like we've kind of been all over the place in terms of what that looks like. But I love that idea about clutches like that, right? I feel like they've got two logos, right? Some bands have like.
Yeah, you know who else does it? Tool.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't really think. I never really fucking noticed that, man. Honestly. Wow, I learned something kind of.
And I'm not trying to rip off Tool all the time, but I realized that, and I was like,
"Don't worry, you're not ripping off." Most people just rip off Tool, and from a musical standpoint, at least you're ripping off the cosmetic end of it.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever. So now I'm just thinking about how I met Adam Jones, but I don't want to be the guy that just starts telling a story about how I met rock stars.
Oh man, I met Tool at Medieval Nights.
That's fucking random as hell. Tell that story, dude.
Yeah. So it was just nobody knew who the fuck they were.
Yes.
They had just barely done an opiate, I guess, or whatever. And they were just I was there to see some buddies, right? And I want to say it was like 93, 94 or something. And they're just like me and you, they just walk in there. They don't seem too thrilled. Yeah. They don't seem too anything, really. They just go up there. They played well, and then they were like, you like it? Thanks.
That's awesome.
And then they took off. So it was very underwhelming, maybe. And then, later I'm starting to realize, man, I saw that guy, the way he was dressed and shit, you know what I mean? He would do that.
Maynard, you mean, or what?
Yeah, he changes his look all the time and shit, but he kind of had that.
Well, they Tool did a great job. First of all, they've been so many people have tried to copy them since, but their style was so unique when they came out. I really think our
drummer's one of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I say this, and I say it because it's true. And what a bass players, right? Oh, who do they all? Cliff Burton. I love Cliff Burton. Cliff Burton was amazing, but I've almost sometimes I'm like a little. A drummer shows up, he's like, I love Tool, or a bass player's like, I love Cliff Burton. I'm like, that's good, but can you actually play, or do you just love this one drummer only and nothing else?
Right. Yeah.
I've got stories I could tell, but I won't. I remember a guy one time opened his bass after talking about, he said, about, I don't know, Cliff Burton, this and that, being in jazz band or what this, and then he opened his case and went, the strings looked like they from the 70s, and we just went across this. It was like, and I don't think he ever moved his finger behind like 3 frets. I was just going like, what in God's fucking name is happening? It was very weird. Like I'd say I jam with some guys way back too, and they're like, yeah, man, Metallica, Cliff Burton, and like open up their storage unit, and there's like holes in the drums with tape, and I'm just going like, oh my God, like, and this was before I knew anything. This was before I was even in like real bands, but I knew enough to be like, this sucks. Yeah.
Well, that goes to show, though, right? The visual aesthetic matters, right? Like,
I mean, that's not even playable. I mean, tape on the drum. Now, it's one thing if you can play. I will say one thing for our old drummer. I'm throwing a lot of people under the bus on this show. I don't give a fuck. But like, it's overdue, Vic. Right? Like we've been all cordial for a few weeks. Fuck it. Let it out.
Let it out.
But I mean, nothing I'm saying is not true, right? So I've had several drummers in a good Rogering over the years, and one of the guys we had for a little while, the tail end of the original, me and my brother sort of core, was this dude that we had, we had a few drummers, and then we were auditioning guys, right? And it was so frustrating because I've changed so much because I used to see a guy going apeshit on the drums, be like, whoa, he's so cool. Now I'm like, I don't want that fucker in my band. Because there's no discipline, you're right. I mean, like maybe it's his jam rock or stoner rock, that's fine. But I don't want a guy that's just like there to get his fucking rocks off. I want we're playing a song. There's a time and a place for the jamming and your moments, and that's how a band, with composed music should operate. For what we do in our style and everything. But so these guys. I'll just remember this one guy sitting on YouTube. Blah blah. And plus, it was like guys from Dallas and stuff. It's like, I doubt that's going to work. You're going to drive to one rehearsal and never come back. It's a long drive. This guy sent a video of him with a cover band, and he is just playing on a Black Crowes song like it's a Tool song. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, just fucking all over the place. And you're just like, thumbs down, bro. Like, but anyway, so at the time it's like, and then guy would show up like, oh, I love good Rogering. And we're like, oh, we'll come for an audition, give him 2 songs. He shows up, be like, well, I'll listen to it on the way in the car. Yeah, this is going to be a fucking nightmare. You know what I mean? Like, so there was a few of those moments. And then this dude showed up. My point of this story is, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Because this guy shows up and he gets out of the car and he's just a total goober looking dude. He's barefoot. His drums aren't in cases. He's got this little jazz kit. Me and my brother are like, oh, Jesus Christ. And he proceeded to fucking nail our shit. Like he had charts, like he knew his shit. And he was an educated musician who did his homework and nailed it. And I mean, he looked kind of bizarre, this little squirrely dude with a jazz kit on stage, but his kit sounded great. He learned the music. We used to play Master of Puppets as a trio. We played some progressive stuff. And he did great. But the funny thing about him was he just hated white people. It was weird. And he was white. I mean, I hate myself, but I'm not going to put that on the whole race. That's not fair. I guess he was pre-woke. I don't know what was going on, but he hated white people. Yeah, man, he was like a decade ahead of his time. Fuck white males. I was like, yeah, bro. It's going to be so trending in 2021. Oh, dude. Yes. Now, did that just happen, or do you know that we covered that? Okay, but we didn't. I
heard you do.
We've never played it at a show.
I knew you did, but I was thinking.
Well, we got. I don't want to say lucky is not the right word, but it was really interesting because we used to do a medley of Typo Negative, and I've always been a huge Typo fan. And when Peter Steele died, we had a show booked like the very next day, and we played that song as a tribute. And dude, Typo, they're so great. I feel like they're underrated. They got a great cult following, but they're really a great band.
I agree. I rocked the shit
Bloody
out
Kisses.
of that album.
Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm.
What was that?
That's the album that got me sold on him. I think I saw him at like an early Ozfest or something.
Christian Woman. I mean, it's
so
it's not
good.
that
Well,
crazy
it's cool because they were unique. What I love about Typo is you can hear their influences. Like they're not obvious because they got this goth moniker and they're rock metal, but you hear the classic rock influence. You hear the punk rock. You hear the metal. You hear all the influences, and I love that.
Sure.
I think Peter Steele probably had a bigger classic and rock influence than anything. They always covered like Doors, Pink Floyd, CCR, Beatles. Every time I ever saw them, they did a cover.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. They covered Summer Breeze as Seals and Crofts.
Summer Breeze.
And then
there you go.
Neil Young. I mean, they even made Neil Young sound good. Oh, bam. Got Neil Young on this podcast too. Doesn't matter. He's not going to listen to it on Spotify. Anyway. Fucking Neil Young. I don't know. Neil Young just seems like he pisses everybody off. He was pissing off Leonard Skinner 40 fucking years ago or some shit. There's that lyric in Sweet Home Alabama about Mr. Young. I get Neil Young's like Kanye West, man. He's like an old white Kanye West. It's just pissing people off, and then they listen to him fart in a bag and think he's a genius. I don't get it, but whatever. That's me. I don't know. I guess I just don't understand genius.
We haven't achieved the level
man. Well,
of
hey,
bag status yet.
Fucking orange amps, baby. Get that. I'm fucking shitting on everybody. Now I'm just gonna dump on the stoner rockers. Turn that orange amp up to 10. Turn make your guitar strings like fucking loose rubber bands, and there you go.
Oh, okay. What size strings do you use, man?
I've done the 11s. I did, 10 to 46 balls. I've done kind of the. I tried going to 11s for a while, and they were just a bit on the thick end. But I kind of want to do it again. Sometimes I try different hybrid.
That's what she said.
No, she didn't. I wish. But what about yourself? Are you a?
I've been using. Well, I have 10s on right now, but I usually.
So you're really thin. You really disappoint the women.
Hey, don't go there. No, I kind of my thing is in a world where everybody's getting these deep, chunky strings and stuff. I don't feel like
really. That's interesting.
Like I don't feel like especially in this.
Oh man,
and all that stuff that's going on now. It's very like in the music. It's set in the music. You know what I mean? And everybody's going for baritone sounds and all that stuff now. And
it's funny you say that because I'm actually playing this. I was just talking to Vic about kind of just playing these different. Dude, I'm excited, by the way, to play in December. Thanks for getting us another show at Amp Room. Shout out to Amp Room. We had a blast with you guys playing there last time. Sure. I really dug that venue, man. Dude, this is going to be great. So, All Stories in album release. And this is long enough we can actually plug it on the podcast. And the podcast will actually be out even if we drag our feet for a month. I was happy. I was like, great.
We have a
damn, that's badass. So December 2nd at Amp Room in San Antonio, Texas, All Stories In album release show, and that'll be Lena Unchained's debut show in San Antonio, most likely too. So that's going to be fucking fun, man. Where was I going with that? I was just talking about playing these different bands, and one of them I'm playing, doing a show one-off with this band Tibetan Sky Burial, and they have a baritone guitar, man, and it sounds cool. Like nice. It's interesting. I'm at a point where I've had this happen a few times where I'd like to have a 7-string guitar just for those moments, like when we need to go, tune down and have drop C and the low A and all that, because you have to have a guitar set up specifically there. But playing 7-string is so fucking weird. Do you have a 7-string? You play that at all?
So another funny you would ask, right? So we did that tour, and one of the bands that played with us, they covered a couple of shows for us. They're called, what are they called? The Churn?
Yeah.
The guitar player gave me, the Holcomb 6-string PRS that I have?
Really?
Those are set up for drop C.
Oh.
And that's why I usually use that, yeah. They come that way, right? So they have a 7-string counterpart.
He just gave you a guitar? Holy shit.
Yes. Denny from The Churn. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's amazing. What was the band? Man.
That's fucking crazy.
Dude, I feel so bad right now for they were really cool guys. It's the band when you guys I came and did that acoustic last minute thing when you guys played Hanover's in Pflugerville, and who was on that? Yeah, were those dudes playing 7 strings or no? Because they kind of had a more progressive modern sound.
Sometimes. They switched, I think. They went from 6 to 7.
Those guys were cool. But I know what you mean with the 8-string stuff when you get into gent and stuff. Maybe I'm just too old for that. Like, I respect it. It's cool, but
I kind of feel, to be honest with you, I kind of feel the same way. Like, he gave me that guitar, right? And I'm sitting there playing, and I'm like, why do I?
I mean, a 7-string I think is cool, but
like, I don't really need it. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing trying to think.
Yeah, 8 strings. I mean, at that point, it's just like, you don't need I don't know. It's just like you're playing both bass and guitar. That's in the same register as the bass. That's the thing. Right. There's not really a need for it, but I guess stylistically, that's what that music does.
Exactly.
Which is, great because you're always pushing boundaries. I mean, once upon a time, Led Zeppelin was this boundary pushing thing, and now it's 8-string guitars or 20-string guitars or whatever these kids are doing these days. I don't know.
However many you can shove on that bitch.
There's like those old fucking 80s things too, like 34 fret guitars with Michelangelo and shit, like for just ridiculous bullshit.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the one that's it's just the metal, like the fretboard is just like a truss rod with the frets.
What?
That's all it is.
Was there like floating? Man, I
it,
remember like one of the early NAMM shows I went to. There was this company. I can't even remember what they were called now, but they made their guitars were all glass. It was pretty cool actually. And I don't know what happened to them, but I know there's stuff made out of all kinds of different shit. And,
people.
When you say drop C, though, so tell me about your tuning. Is that a standard? What do you guys typically tune to?
When we play live, we tune to drop C. So basically, D.
So okay, there's the whole. Yeah, all right, gotcha. Right, like I should know that, but I was seeing if you knew how you tuned your guitars. Do you have any specific brand? Do you have brand loyalty to like strings or anything like that?
I wouldn't say loyalty. I'm kind of a creature of habit, though. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I usually use D'Addarios of some sort.
Ernie Ball is usually what I go with.
I fucking hate Ernie Ball.
I'm giving a major shout out to Ernie Ball on this podcast. We call him one of our sponsors unofficially, just because they've hooked me up for a while now, and but I just did a big order from those guys for the upcoming Invincible Czars tour. So shout out to Ernie Ball, shout out to Roland, hopefully several Godan, all these guys I work with.
Well, I'll be honest, I work at Sam Ash, right? So if I buy like a 10-pack of D'Addario strings,
I used D'Addarios for a while. I don't really have anything against them, and in fact, I used them, I think, on my acoustics quite a bit, but for some reason I just had a few bad batches or something and a few strings broke. It's one of those just silly things, and then I was like, man, fuck this guitar, fuck these strings, and started using Ernie Balls, and I've just been using Ernie Balls forever. So yeah, it's a fluke thing, and then all of a sudden you're just, I think I used to try out different strings of guitars, and then I just started using the Ernie Balls, and so I was like, all right, I'm cool. These are cool.
My best friend's dad, right? The guy I was talking about earlier, he's like a local legend, taught everybody guitar back in the day. He swears by GHS boomers, man.
Really? I used those things. That was one of the first strings I ever used, like way back.
Yeah, that's it. He swears by them, man. I'm like, how do you not break those things, man? I don't know.
Roger Zombek used the same thing.
Yeah.
What about keyboards? Since you're a keyboard, by the way, did you start on piano or guitar or both kind of at the same time, like me? Like, what's your musical background?
No. Me personally, I guess I already kind of told you that.
Nerd. No, I'm just kidding.
I did, right? So I've been playing music. My dad, right? Most dads coming from Texas make your kids play football and do stuff like that, right? My dad put me in plays and sing and dance type thing. So we lived in Branson, Missouri for a little while, and I was in all these shows as a kid. And before I even really knew anything, they're just like, here's a guitar, play this chord and that chord, and then sing and dance.
You're going to be on hee-haw, boy.
That's what I did, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, the Mel Tillis show and stuff like that, yeah. So I kind of got and then, not to get too deep into another tangent, I lived in a Christian commune for a short period as a kid. And it was based around a musical artist named John Talbot. He was the head honcho, right? So he had a music career and was doing Christian music and dressed like a friar. All this stuff. But anyways, he did music video shoots for his stuff back in like 85 or whatever. So I'm in these things, right?
No shit. Oh, wow.
That's where I learned a lot of that stuff, was being a kid and that stuff. And then as I got older, like, I didn't even want to play music, man. I'm like, Dad, let me go play football with my friends, right? And my parents got divorced, and then my football player friends started trying to play music, and I already knew how. So I had it going on already, right? And they're like, oh, you're cool. And so I found my value, right? And then I really stuck with it. Then because I was doing it on my own, I wasn't being forced. Then it became my thing, And basically, I started on drums and guitar, I guess, but for the past probably 5 or 6 years, I've really been teaching myself piano.
Do you teach guitar primarily, or do you teach multiple instruments? Right.
I teach a bunch.
I teach everything. I can play every instrument.
Like that, but I teach. I don't. I won't teach piano because I didn't start with it, and I don't have great strategies for it. Right. I teach bass, guitar, voice, drums.
Shit, man. I feel the same way about drums. Like, yes, I can play drums. I can sit on a drum kit and keep a beat and play okay, but I don't feel like, I mean, if it's like a super beginner or something that just wanted basic fundamental stuff, but I wouldn't feel comfortable because I don't feel like I have the proper technique and background to teach drums like I do with guitar and piano, you know. And then I feel like if you play guitar, you can teach bass. I mean, not to say that like there's not a different approach and technique to it, but which there is. Theory-wise, it's the same.
Theory-wise and everything.
All the other things. The funny thing about all those other instruments are like if you play a stringed instrument and you understand music theory, and then this is tuned in fourths or this is tuned to this and blah blah blah. Well, then you can basically kind of teach any of those to a beginner because all you got to do is go, okay, let's see, how's this put together? Right, so this is this, you know, and you don't have to be like a master fucking ukulele player.
We got to geek out on this sometime, man. You know about the 7-string pattern?
I guess not.
No, that's why they made 7 strings.
Enlighten me. Where are you going with this?
But there's a 7-string pattern that unfolds if your guitar is tuned to perfect fourths or fifths. There's a 7-string pattern. And it's on everything. It's on the ukulele. It's on.
Hold on.
Did
they all end up being different alphabetical notes or something? The 7 notes, natural notes of music.
Yeah, if you just forget the note names, right? It's basically like if you know like your C major scale on a 6-string. If you start
right, so you have a C and then an F and then the B flat, like you're just
yeah, but you're going the movements, right? You're going whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then the next one you drop down half step, whole step, half step, whole step. That's part of it, right? So right above that, if you had a 7th string, you would have another whole step above your C. Does that make sense? And that's kind of why they did that, so you don't have to imagine.
Well, and that always made sense with like a bass, actually. I feel like a 6-string bass makes more sense than guitar. I understand why the guitar probably ultimately developed the standard tuning, even though you can tune it all kinds of ways. I'm sure for there's the cage system and everything, and it probably lent itself over years of study and figuring out like these are the best chord shapes and the practicality of all that shit, right? But it's like... it actually makes more sense if you look at a bass or something that's just tuned in straight fourths. You don't have that anomaly because that anomaly string fucks up everybody. It's like I'm teaching you guitar and you're going to do it except for the B string, which completely fucking ruins everything. So forget about your pattern, your consistent pattern. But guys like Stanley Jordan, he just tuned all in fourths. Like he just tuned the top 2 strings to C and F. So he truly did tune in fourths like that, which I guess.
Who's that guy?
Fuck yeah, dude. I met Mike Dawes. I have an awesome picture of me, Mike Dawes, and Eric Gales at a NAMM show. It was a complete and total fluke because I saw Mike Dawes performing because a buddy of mine that was making pedals had talked with him, and Mike Dawes was interested in this pedal. So I lingered around like a weirdo at this NAMM thing, and he got done with his performance, and I was talking to him and everything. And then all of a sudden... And I had seen, like, while he was sitting there, another guy started jamming around the corner. And I was like, fuck, this guy's crushing it. What's going on? Sure as shit, it was Eric Gales just destroying it, just like with a dude on a little thing. And Eric just playing an upside down left-handed guitar, just killing it. And then he pops around the corner, like, while I'm talking to Mike Dawes. And he's like, hey. And the guy's like, oh, I'm a big fan. And they're like, Eric and Gales and Mike Dawes are having this moment. And I'm sort of just awkwardly standing there. And all of a sudden, all these people... like come up and start taking photographs. And it's hilarious because I'm standing there. And so I just I'm in these photos with these dudes. And literally someone's like, you hear people like whispering, like, that's Mike Dawes. That's Eric Gales. I don't know who the guy is. I was like, I don't know who that other guy is, but those guys are awesome.
You don't know yet.
Mike Dawes is ridiculous. Like that guy is so good. Yeah, he's so good.
No, he'll do that kind of
that makes a lot of sense with the way he plays for sure. I got actually the company that since we're plugging companies left and right on this podcast, like that was Tonewood. Have you heard of Tonewood? He's a big Tonewood fan, right? He's like their main dude. That was a demo he was doing with them. So I think he even did a thing with Rick Beato on that.
That's that
exactly.
That's that little reverb.
I have that. Yeah,
thing, right?
It just attaches. It's pretty fucking cool, man. It attaches and you just put a little reverb or delay and shit like that on there. Yeah, Tonewood's get it all wet and.
Get it wet.
Like every guitar player, when you first start out, especially if you play rock, right? Maybe not jazzers or country guy, but if you play rock metal, what's the first thing you do? Like I just moved my old crate amp today. It's like everything on fucking 10. I remember I had like DSP on my like crate amp, and I was fucking reverb, everything, every effect on 10, and it's just, you're like, cause then you don't have to do anything. I used to just move my fingers up and down, and it just all this effects, and I was like, this is awesome.
I used to love the octave effect, man, and I kind of want to sneak it into something
like a pedal, or actually playing the old Wes Montgomery thing.
Yeah, like having you can add an octave above and below.
Yeah, I've got that whammy pedal.
Sound, you know what I'm saying?
I haven't even used the damn thing, but I love that the way like the Satrianis and stuff will use that with the big sweeps, a big.
Yeah, you know that's one thing. I don't use a wah that much.
I'm pretty Kirk Hammett-y. I use it pretty hard, but a lot of us do. So, well, props to you for not being the Joe Wah heavy foot like most of us.
I got enough bullshit already, so that's just to me. It's like,
well, let's talk to Matt. What do you you Ernie ball string, so that's good.
Actually, I'll be right back.
What do you play guitar wise, man?
Yeah. So when I gig, it's mostly going to be the Schecter Hellraiser. It's probably the only one that I ever play on stage, even though I have.
Dude, I just bang for the buck. The Schecters I play, my fiance has one. She got for like $300, and I love it. When I go see her, I play her guitar, and I love it. And Josh from the Invincible Czars plays a 7-string that I think he got for a great deal, and they're great. I think they're really good, man. Yeah, cost, really and not too expensive either.
And I work for. I just say Guitar Center, but it's not actually Guitar Center, but I get discounts like I was a Guitar Center employee. And I get
nice
deals on those things. But when I'm not playing for the band, I usually play like my Les Paul at home.
I play with myself.
And I just bought a a mini Japan Stratocaster maybe like a month ago or so, and that's great. I love those, but
the
Schecter is just like a workhorse. It's never gonna it's not gonna let me.
I feel like it's like to me the Les Paul and the I obviously have a bunch of Tragans and custom Tragans, and I have Godans, and I have a variety of guitars. But I mean, I have a Les Paul. I'll tell you all a story here in a minute. I have a California Strat, which God, that guitar is just. I love Fender products in general. I love Fender amps. I love Fender guitar. I think this stuff's fantastic. And so I've got my, I think it might be one of my only guitars, if not my only electric guitar, with a maple neck as my Strat. And everything I play that thing, I'm like, God, this thing, it just feels perfect. It sounds perfect. The versatility, love it. Same with the Les Paul. I have a Les Paul that I actually bought on a whim when I was amp shopping. Here's one for you San Antonio guys at fucking Hermes Music in like 2002 or something. I had just moved back to Texas, and I was looking for an amp, and I took this Les Paul off the wall and started playing. And it wasn't a Les Paul custom. It wasn't a Les Paul studio. It's called a Les Paul Special, I think.
Studio.
And it doesn't have the trapezoid inlays, just little dots. It doesn't have the maple top. It's just the mahogany body, plain color, just kind of a strip plain. But I was like, man, this guitar feels so good. And I couldn't believe, right? I don't even think they make them anymore, exactly, man. I might have been a short-lived thing.
Nope. I had a V.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just around for a few years.
Yeah.
But and I love it because I got it for under $1,000, and it doesn't have all the cosmetic stuff, and I'm sure there's some things that obviously playing a great Les Paul custom is going to be amazing, but shit, for the dollar that the amount that I got it for, I love that. Now I've had to retire it since it has been run over by a tour van, but it's I'm like, yeah, but funny enough, man, if you ever have a catastrophic guitar, it's been repaired. That's where I was going, dude. Hit up Tony Nobles in Wimberley, fix that bitch, and that guy's a wizard. So, but after that, I was like, all right, this fucker can't leave the house anymore. That's the thing about Les Pauls; they're such a manly, heavy, badass fucking Zakk Wylde / rock and roller guitar, but you fucking breathe on it and the damn headstock cracks, they're
I'm kind of the same way. Like when we go on I think he mentioned this, I have a couple guitars those are my live guitars. when we record,
Exactly.
it's all bets are off.
And then you just lie. Yeah. Like, all my guitars are, all my recordings are with my custom this and that. Actually, I do, to be fair, like most of my recordings were done there. But I have used Les Paul. Sometimes a Strat, man, you're just not going to get that fucking Strat tone. And like I said, when I used that Tele, I was like, damn. I actually love Telecasters too. I've been saying forever that I want to get a Telecaster and still haven't, but that's
ironically, when we were recording, Mac Damon, he has a whole bunch of expensive guitars, like Les Paul customs and fancy jazz masters and things like that. But the ones that we were recording on was like an Epiphone Les Paul Spectrum, dude, that's or something like with a big speed on it.
Actually, that was pretty cool, man. So he called it. He always calls it like Guitar Mageddon or something. And there's like, we go in there and there's probably about 30.
Wow.
30 guitars. He's all right. Let's start shooting and see which ones sound good. So we're just going through guitars and like which ones. And when it comes to clean, man, P90s or Fenders.
I agree. Yeah, and that's what's nice about a studio is you have those options to be like, this. I want this twang. I want this fat, robust tone. And
that was cool.
But I'm glad that you said that because I really think, to me, of course, your American Strats, of course, your Les Paul Customs, although every guitar can be a bit individual, and I've played certain ones where I'm like, not feeling it and pick up the exact same, price tag guitar or even a lesser price guitar and be like, oh, this one sings for me. I feel good. So it's very personal, I think, too, right, with these guitars. But that's why, like, it could be an Epiphone. It could be a Mexican Strat. I mean, I've played both of those kind of guitars where if I had the money at the time, I'd have been like, I'm going to buy this fucker right on the spot because they feel great. Who gives a shit, if it feels great and sounds great.
What was that one that we used a lot?
The what?
You remember the name of it? Fano?
Yeah.
I had never heard of this one.
It's called Fano.
Fano?
It's a boutique brand.
And it just had some P90s, man. That fucking thing sounds great.
Yeah.
Super stupid.
Nice.
Jazz master type of body and had all these switches on it. It was like,
oh man, I know. Like that's me too. Like with an amp, if there's more than 2 channels, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this thing. And like those guitars, like what's the one? I know what you're talking about. Is it the Jazz Master? Didn't Kurt Cobain, or he used a Jaguar, but they have they have like a lot of shit. I'm confused. I'm like, I understand the basic toggle switch with like 3 spots. I mean, how much do I even?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's just for kids who like to touch things or something. It's like, here's like little buttons you can press and like things you can slide on a rail.
You're not listening to what I'm teaching you, so push these buttons. I'm going to go grab a coffee and talk shit about you with the other instructors.
Like, basically, figure out the difference. I'll come back later.
And I know you mentioned Hermes Music. I heard
Is it? Oh, really? Is that the old location of Hermes, which is not far from Fitzgerald's, which is not far? That's Guitar Center now, right?
That's Guitar Center now.
Yeah, it's Guitar Center now. But they're gonna open one.
It used to be
Draft House.
No, it's already there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's already there.
Oh, okay.
It used to be Momar Music, if I'm saying that right. And they took it over. Momar had to sell out.
That's cool.
Hermes just moved in.
So what's up with Hermes? Is that was that a chain or was that the San Antonio thing only? Okay.
Yeah, apparently they're still pretty big up north.
I think it's when Guitar Center bought them out, they signed a non-compete in San Antonio.
Oh, nice.
10 years.
Okay,
so
that's cool. Yeah, man, Hermes was like the place back in the day. The Guitar Center wasn't everywhere like it used to be. I remember I was in College Station and we didn't have shit. We had like one little music store. We literally had a place called the Guitar Shop. And then a place called Tip Top Music, which is where I got my first guitar and took lessons, which funny enough, my guitar teacher was this huge Randy Rhoads fan and all this rock dude. So it was like worked out great, even though the owner was a super like country dude. But yeah, totally, this his whole thing too is like, this is the guitar for you. Okay.
We went to San Marcos when we were doing our run or whatever, and we spent the day in San Marcos and we were looking around for like a music store. The same thing. It's just this little tiny little hole in the wall. Basically, they had like 2 guitars for sale, and they just set up people's guitars. But it was a little thing, I forget what the name of the place was, but he had a custom made amp that was pretty awesome. That he made it himself and stuff, so that's kind of cool. What was that thing called?
I think it was his name. I don't know.
It had a cool name, if that's his name. Shit, I can't remember. Oh well.
I think it was like Ace something.
Great plug. Oh man, best boutique amp I've ever played is this amp called shit. I can't remember. Whatever. Hole in the wall. Right, that hole in the wall.
Yeah, it was cool.
Some guy's name. Guitar shop.
It's on the square.
Hey, by the way,
on the way to the bar.
Where did you guys play at San Marcos? I don't remember if you said that earlier.
Oh, so we played there fairly regularly.
Kind of a hop and a skip. Yeah. What is it? Have you guys put that Rangars or Ragnars? I've heard that's pretty far off the beaten path, but a good stage and
it is a little bit. It can be good.
Okay.
It's a kick-ass fucking outside stage, man. With like, it's legit, bro. Like, it's cool. It's
I should check out that place. I'm kind of interested in those kind of venues in terms of like bigger festival type gigs.
What I would say about it is, yeah, that's what you want to do.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, it sounds more conducive to that.
Do something bigger, probably. Yeah. There's a Jack's Roadhouse that's been having. The last time we played there, that's in town.
Is it a little dive bar or what? Or
breathing? It was so fucking. No, it's like a restaurant diner place.
Oh, that's good.
So full of college kids, man. It was it was like bulging under the weight, you know. Literally, like we're taking our gear out, and I'm watching the bay doors like boom, boom.
Nice.
From people like fucking moshing.
Cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was cool. There's the porch that's right on the square.
Yeah, I haven't played there in so long. We played one gig there a few years ago, and I can't even remember the name of the place. It was okay. It was kind of cool. I can't remember what it was called. Way back, I did play Lucy's. Lucy's was super cool, man. I only played there one time.
Yeah.
I did like that place. And then we used to always play Gold Crown Billiards, but that's been gone for a while now. That was a place. And Triple Crown was another one.
Yeah.
So I'm not real hip into these new venues, but maybe we'll try to mosey on down the road and play a show with you guys down there sometime.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's good to know.
San Marcos is always good to us, man.
Yeah, I feel like my big thing there is just not really knowing where to play and if it's worth, but based on what you're saying, it sounds like it's totally worth it to. I will.
This is something I've always tried to do, and I did it once really effectively in Austin. I'm kind of not to be shitty or anything, but
yes,
I'm trying to infiltrate circles. Right, like I'm trying to get down to I'll go to San Marcos.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. And you got to follow up,
become friends. You know, and like, I have no idea who these people are, but I just initiate. You know, I don't even want to have to.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like somehow I can go out and like even the podcast. I mean, I can obviously fucking run my mouth, but I mean, there are those times when I'm just like, God damn it, I fucking hate people, and I don't want to do shit. And then, but once you kind of get out there, you just, it's part of it's like all the things we were talking about. It's part of the deal, man. I don't think as an independent DIY band, you don't have the luxury to sit around and, like I'm just going to be, I'm too cool for school artist bullshit. No, you got to go fucking grind it out, man. That means you got to go to shows, you got to meet people, you got to fucking do all this, administrative crap. It's
not that I don't like people. I think I just the older I'm getting, the more I kind of like, I don't know.
Exactly.
I like got to recharge the battery, and I think most of the good stuff, like my writing and all my art and all that stuff, happens when I'm alone.
Yeah.
Not when
exactly.
not when I'm with a bunch of motherfuckers. So I like to produce art and stuff.
It's like really
I get to do that more when I'm alone.
Trying to find that balance.
So I find myself being
between the two, which is tough, because you're out there, trying to be social and grow your brand and make yourself known and network. But at the same time, like you said, that's not exactly conducive to, I think probably for most of us, to actually creating and practicing. It's like that.
Yeah, there's just too much going on. Too much. You can't sit alone with your thoughts and cultivate something and all that usually. Or at least
what was I going to say about I know. I was going to say man, I've been having a really good experience just playing. And San Marcos is not really a little town, but it's not a big city either. And I think it's really because I think the big cities get real spoiled and the venues get real spoiled and the promoters can get lazy. God knows we've experienced this. And then they don't want to pay you because everybody and their fucking grandma will come play there for free. But you go play, we played Lampasas, we played Huntsville, and got treated great. We're taken care of. We had a great crowd. And I think it's like, man, these places are some gold mines, You go out and play like the littler markets and for people that don't get a rock show every day of the week that don't take it for granted because they don't have 50 fucking venues right down the road, you know?
Yeah, there was one of the bands I was talking to. They were we played with them in San Marcos when we played on that run. And what was the name of the band that played last year?
The last time at Jack's, Ragnar's.
They were instrument. They were a little bit like the Velopod band. It's escaping me right now, but the bass player and I got to talking afterwards, and he was kind of saying the same thing. And I agree, right? Like, it's just when the people in the cities are spoiled, there's too much. There's too much. You know what I mean? Like, nothing's exciting. The novelty is on. Just about everything is worn off. Like, there's just too much available, too much access. These small towns, they don't have shit, man. You know, they have an open mic maybe once a month, and that's a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody fucking goes. You know what I'm saying? There's just not much else. There might be a Walmart.
Playing now, Back to the Future 3. I used to always make fun of the small town I came from because like everything was always behind, and like then we'd go back to visit in 2005, and I'd be like, look, Die Hard just came out, you know.
They're wearing corn shirts.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been there too.
There's something to be said about that, and you can get kind of jaded about it, but I've really grown to kind of appreciate those communities, you know, for that reason. I think it's actually really good for guys like us, and even as a musician, like even if I am worn out or whatever the case may be, I mean, I don't want to go out every night of the week, you know. Yeah, it's not that whole thing like when you're younger and you just want to go party and be a part of something. I don't need to do that shit anymore, you know. But like, sure, I'd like to go support friends. I mean, but there are good shows, multiple shows every single night, and you just can only do so much at a certain point. Because I mean, especially when it's like, well, I would love to come see this show, but there's a rehearsal. Well, now I have a show. Well, now I'm doing a podcast, or you know, whatever. So it's like there's just not time to do it, you know. But like you said, I mean, if it was something where it was like, oh, well, this one event's happening next month. Okay, cool. Well, maybe I'll make sure I don't book anything on that one fucking night because that's the night, you know. Whereas here, it's like, well, whatever. They'll play again tomorrow. They'll be back next week, you know.
Exactly. That's exactly right. When I was running the country bands, I used to see that firsthand, right? So you'd have guys like Bart Crow. He'd come like every 6 months, and every single time his crowd would get smaller because of what you're talking about, right? You'd have I don't know, Whiskey Myers or somebody like that. They'd come like maybe once a year, maybe twice.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, maybe once every 2 years. And they could charge whatever the hell they wanted for those tickets.
That makes sense.
That shit was fucking stupid packed. So it's that
supply and demand kind of thing.
You got to leave them wanting you. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to. Like the gas, right? Let's bottle up our music and save it over here. We'll release it when they vote on it or something.
I want to talk about country music now, since you worked with all these bands. Were you a fan initially? Like, first of all, for both of you guys, what were your early influences? What are some of your favorite musicians early on? What are some of your favorite guitar players?
So I didn't really get into music until maybe like senior year in high school. That was 2011.
Baby alert.
I didn't really have too many influences at the time. Except for whatever was on.
Oh my God! Jesus Christ! You're like, this guy's literally getting influenced by the same shit that you were playing at your party, Vic. When oh my God!
I know.
That's hilarious. I was gonna say, like, when did you get into music? When he found me on the side of the road and said, "Want to play in my band?"
I guess one of the
first, man, me too. That's the reason I play guitar, man. I mean, if I could cite one thing, it'd be Appetite for Destruction, man, and Slash. That was like where I was like, fuck me, I have to play guitar. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the reason I got a Les Paul. And I guess Darren Lackian from System.
Okay.
Probably the second one. His stuff's so simple, but
well, I think that's one reason Metallica is so huge. I mean, they've had great management. They've written great songs. They've also written garbage, but they've earned the stripes in a variety of ways. But I think one thing that I think is so smart, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the thing about Metallica is they've got songs that are very, very difficult. Disposable Heroes and Dyer's Even, this like really fast, crazy metal stuff that no beginner could play, and I can't play. But they've got also stuff that almost anybody can play right away, you know, with a little bit of work. And those, I think that's so smart, because it's like, oh, look, I can play a Metallica song. I can't play Master of Puppets, you know, after a few months, but I can play For Whom the Bell Tolls. And then maybe a year later, you can start playing Master of Puppets or whatever, right? So I think that's the AC/DC thing, which I love that stuff. I love a lot of really simple music. I don't love Green Day personally, but the reason I don't love Green Day is because the guy's not English and he talks like he's from England, or sings like he's from England. I don't know why.
No. But it's easy enough to get people.
No, most people don't have a gut disgust for Green Day like I do, for no real reason, honestly. But like, no, I get exactly what you're saying, and I always thought it was kind of interesting. It's the Kiss factor. I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I try to not say bad things about Kiss, because almost everyone I've ever met loves Kiss. Like every guitar player loves Kiss, and you're like, they're not even good. Like it's like Ace Frehley's not doing anything amazing. I mean, I think he thinks he is, but. You know what I mean? Like, I invented a pentatonic scale. Sorry, but like but I get it in the sense that like everyone, like Marty Friedman's one of my favorites, right? And I remember Marty Friedman being like, oh, he loved Kiss and he loved the Ramones, and I was like, that's interesting, because you think of him as this crazy guitar wizard, virtuoso Megadeth guy, but it makes sense because it's something you can immediately play, like you said with the Green Day thing. It's fun, right? It's immediate, like Nirvana was when I started coming up with, before Matt was born over there. You know, it's like when I started playing. You know, when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. Like,
that's funny, man. I never put that together, bro.
It was so amazing though, because it's like you had the Metallica Black album coming out, which you could play the riffs, maybe not the solo. I could kind of play some of the riffs on there. There was the Nirvana grunge thing happening, so it was all things that you could kind of play even as a beginner. And then bands like Metallica and certain bands had the more complex stuff that you could kind of aspire to, but there were still manageable riffs, you know. And those same riffs, you know, this as a teacher, man, we're teaching the same shit now that's been taught for 30, 40 years, man. Smoke on the Water, Crazy Train, Enter Sandman, Smells Like Teen Spirit, all that shit, right? Yeah, so thank God, because I can't learn more shit. No, I'm like, I like when the kids nowadays, you're like, what do you listen to? I don't know. Well, good, fuck you. I'm going to teach you what I already know then.
That's right. No, they come to me. They're like, I'm like, hey, pick a song you want to learn, right? What do? They come with their video game, their Switch or something. They're like, this music.
I'm not one to talk.
Fuck.
I'm not one. I'm going to talk shit about a few people, but I don't talk shit about most of my students and stuff. I really love many of them, and I've developed like lifelong relationships with a lot of people, and but when you're somebody who doesn't want to be there and you're just there because your mom wants to fuck the milkman or some shit, like I don't like that shit. I don't see dollar signs. I don't like babysitting brats. Someone's got to do it. I feel like I've earned my stripes and been around long enough where it's not me. So I don't teach fucking kids. I'll do like trials, and if it's like a serious kid, I'll be like, holy shit. And when I'm teaching a kid, I don't care if you're 7 or you're 77. We're either like, hell yeah, let's do this. We're excited about music, and we're gonna bond, or it's not. Not to say that I can't like teach someone that's not.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, here's one for you. Do they ever bond on?
That's a really good. That's a good question, but
like
that's a good question. They feel honestly, the bond,
like, but you're
not too often, really, for me personally.
I get that.
The burrito kid.
Dude, there was this one kid who was a complete he was a psycho. This is this old school that I worked at, right? There's years back, and this kid came in, and he was so insane. I was like, okay, this guy's gonna be a fucking serial killer. Like this person's going to be a pro. There's probably like done a mass shooting by now, but he was just a psycho, and he would bother everybody in the lobby and poke his head in the door. And then he came into my lesson eating a Taco Bell burrito, dropping it on the floor. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, stop eating a fucking burrito. Throw that away or go eat it outside. Like, and then he sits down and he's got this guitar and he's all fucking in your face and he's all excited. He's like, hey, do you know the song Devil? You know, this is a kid who can't even play a G chord, right? It's always these people. And he's like, do you know Devil came with Joy? I want to learn how to play that song. It goes, and he just starts like, and I'm like, and he's like getting all close to me, and I'm having to like, you need to like learn about personal distance and space, and then so also we used to have like, Vic can attest to this, the neurotic boss that left little notes on our chairs, and the AC had to be, and the radio had to be this, and every time you fucked up, you got an email, a text. No, it was ridiculous. And so, but also for whatever reason, as an independent contractor, usually they would have our numbers, but everybody knew like it's business related, not to just randomly call people, like basic social constructs, right? I get a call one night walking downtown to a gig at like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I think it was either unrecognizable or I recognized it was that kid. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I don't answer after the gig, right? I'm like walking back to my car. It's like a fucking 3-minute voicemail. And it's like, hey, this is, and I really want to learn this song by so-and-so. It goes like this. And then for 3 minutes, he's holding up his phone to, I'm going to say boombox because I'm old. And you just hear like, for 3, it was like a kid, it was like a fucking Kid Rock song or something. And I was like, dude, like, bro, like, get help. I'm sorry, like, not to be an asshole, but
that's funny.
There's some people are just fucking crazy, and I've had a few students that were real shitheads, but that's really rare, man. Most people are super cool. I did have this girl recently that was like, yeah, same thing. I mean, I couldn't teach her fucking anything, like, and she was what.
Have you ever had a student drop you?
Well, no, I mean, because I'll cater to them, but I mean,
No, I mean like.
Oh no.
They found. No,
that's a great. Honestly, I have not. Surprisingly enough, at least not to my knowledge, because there were times when I was like, ugh, like. But usually when I kind of get to know someone, then they kind of like, oh well, yeah, here's this is who I am in my band. I'm not like pushing my band and stuff on people, but
yeah.
No, I don't, because I don't think most people give a shit enough, honestly. I think if I'm like, who gives a shit about their guitar teacher's band? Like, I'm just their teacher. Like, you know what I mean? I think, like, I've got friends and stuff who know me, and some have come to shows, but I think, like, most of them are probably just like, what's your band again? I don't care. Like, I want to learn this Maroon 5 song, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, there's a.
Has it really? Because
Devil plays song.
You're a Satanist. You're a Satanist.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh. It's the devil.
Well,
right, yeah, they're thinking
you don't need literal. Them. They're yeah, or maybe you do. Sorry,
probably not. But I was just curious.
Oh man, that's kind of almost surprises me because I always kind of had a little bit of a fear of that. Of like, is the good Rogering going to scare someone off? And not to my knowledge, it never has.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell with the.
Dude, I had a guy one time. Most weirdos don't last. I felt sorry for. I mean, I'm being really mean on this podcast, but whatever. But like, this guy came in one time, and he's just this goddamn shirt, this starched fucking shirt, tucked in with his tight ass Wrangler jeans and his gigantic belt buckle, and he's sitting there just the whole time, completely awkward and uncomfortable. And he's got his daughter who comes in her little Catholic schoolgirl outfit or whatever private school she goes to. And I'm trying to do a lesson with this girl. And I know, like, sometimes parents want to sit in on a lesson or two, and that's fine. You let them, and then hopefully they fuck off after a few lessons. Right. But, because you don't need a parent in their lesson going, like, and she really will. I don't care. I'm the teacher. Get the fuck out of here. You know what you're talking about. And, like, so, and that's pretty rare. Like, and if I know the parent, everyone's different. That's fine. I get it. But this guy, I was like, dude, your daughter's doomed, because I was sitting there trying to like help this poor little girl, and she would, I'd be like, okay, so do this. Now, do you understand that? Does that make sense? And before she could even open her poor scared mouth, he would go, say yes, sir. Like to every fucking question, say yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm like, I wanted to be like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. This could be your daughter's like only 30 minutes a week of her not being terrified to death. Like, and you're ruining it,
No, you can see that. Like I've had a couple of, and you see that. Like usually, what I run into is it's one polar opposite of the other, right? Like,
that's the other side of the spectrum, right? Of just like, isn't she being cute? No, your 9-year-old rolling around on the floor. That's not. Oh, look at she's a kid. Yeah. No, she's a brat because you're a terrible parent. I'm sorry. Like I hate this. Like kids crap. No, because I've had kids that are super respectful and awesome at 7 because their parents are good. It's pretty simple, man. And I understand that there's ADD and there's all, whatever, all these things. But I think nowadays so much of that just gets used as an excuse, like, I mean, you remember the kid I had for years and he shit his pants in a lesson? Remember?
Oh,
one of the first I had this kid for years, and like he used to come with his mom, and his mom never took the guitar out of the case. Like every single week, I'm not exaggerating, for like 2 years, God bless them, they were nice people, but 2 years straight, she'd come in and I'd be like painstaking, like wanting to put a gun in my mouth. Like, okay, let's play the E chord. Let's play the E chord. You know, let's play, okay, try to fret that note. You know, like I'm like, okay, you have got to push your fucking finger down on the string. Also, here's an idea: play your guitar. You know, but anyway, so she'd be in there, and then her kid was just this like mess. Like he'd be like 4 years old. Like, I'm sorry, like extremely rare that you could teach someone that young guitar. You know, maybe piano a little bit, maybe, but. He was really young when they started,
4.
maybe 5, but
gosh.
like probably the youngest kid I ever had. And like one of the first lessons, he straight up
That's tough. Yeah,
shit his pants. All of a sudden, it just like smelled like death in that room. I was just like, "What do you say?" His mom's sitting there, and you're just kind of like, "So anyway." I'm gonna open the window, and his mom's like, "Oh goodness, where's the bathroom?" You know. Yeah, dude. Vic, it's so funny because Vic knows these fucking stories of yore when I started teaching.
Oh, yeah.
I think probably the worst thing that I had was next to Sam Ash that was quite a few years ago now, but there used to be a gym right next door. So I had this guy who wanted to take some vocal lessons, but he came straight from like lifting weights. Like,
oh no, it's smelling like
he
balls.
Didn't use the fucking shower, man. He'd come in there, and I was like, man, peeling paint off the walls, right? And then to top it off, right, I had this mother-daughter duo that would come in right after him, right? And it's like, motherfucker. So I remember this time they walked in and they
oh no, because of the smell. Yeah.
Out,
well,
man.
let me tell you,
like, you guys okay?
So at this place I used to teach at, they had oh yeah, well, I had a certain situation, and well, let me back up. So I didn't know this was where this podcast was going to go, but it's pretty fun. Like, like we both get fired, you know, as soon as this comes out. But like, I was like, so at the time there was this like genius teaching, like those, yeah, we all know like the math genius guys that are like the jazz guru. They're like the Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind, and they know, you know, and like he was one of those guys. And I'm like, this guy was hot, next level, so, you know, playing at the Elephant Room with all the jazzers, really high level musician that then said, whatever, I'm going to go be a calculus major, like one of those geniuses. But he was can you imagine, like, it's bad enough just being like pretty okay like me, but can you imagine being like a musical genius and having to sit down with a little bratty kid and he's over there going like, the feel of this. No, I mean, I'm like, he was so advanced. And then you got a kid going, and so he had this one, like, I think he didn't last very long because then this kid called, and this was the guy, by the way, that I let borrow a book of rags, like Joplin and stuff. And he came back like a day later and was like, yeah, this is really fun. I put this one in a minor key. I mean, ridiculously good, right? I mean, it took me like a month just to learn a rag as is. This guy's like transposing it and shit for fun. And he comes in and this like, I'll never forget just this serious guy, the super, you know, eccentric musician with his big fro hair and everything. And he just walks out in the lobby. He's like, I just got called a poo-poo head. and then he was just done. Like, and I was like, I don't blame this guy. So anyway, I inherited all these piano students because they didn't have a piano teacher. So that was a pointless story, but funny. So but this piano used to be in this little isolated room with no windows. And then I got this student, and it was one of the few I've had where the mom always came with the daughter. And they were super sweet, very nice people. And the daughter was really good. I absolutely adored them and loved teaching them. But they had an odor, big time. So bad. I mean, it was tears in the eyes. We had to move the piano into another room with a window. And whenever their lesson came, I opened the window and you know, lit candles and stuff, and then as soon as their lesson was over, like blew out the candles and sprayed and shit. I mean, it's like, what can you do? You know what I mean? I think it was a kind of a cultural thing or whatever. And I'm not going to knock them for that. And also, they were great people, and I love teaching them. But from the perspective of just the school, the business, and then whoever the next student was, it was like.
Right.
That would have been like one of the very few instances where getting COVID and losing your sense of smell would have probably been beneficial. You know what I mean? Like, It's funny. I ran into someone the other day that was saying that. I can't believe I'm still like hearing about people that haven't had the smell for 6 months and shit like that. Did you guys get COVID? Oh, wow.
Actually, right before we went on tour, I finally got it. Well, I say I finally got it.
I'm starting to think I had it way back then, too.
Before all the shutdown shit.
Yeah.
But
we didn't know it was
But it wasn't a thing yet, right? Yeah. So I just was sick for a day and went back to work and whatever, right? And then right before we were about to hit the road, right? About a week before, just barely.
Oh, well, good, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Enough time to still hit the road.
Yeah, because I think you guys were playing with Tough really on close. Fridays, right? At Hanover's, and that was the band that had to drop because of COVID. And this keeps happening. You keep seeing it over and over. We just played with Snakeskin Prison for their 15-year celebration. What a great fun show we had with those guys. Our longtime friends from Houston, Welborn Road, and then Inch of Dark, some great buddies who hadn't played in 2 years. Had to sub in because the band Butcher White all got COVID, and so it's kind of a bummer, man. That's been happening to so many people, but at least everyone's living.
Yeah, I want to say
someone. Yep.
Every single show we had when we did that run.
Let's end on that super fun, positive note. Pandemics. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Where were we before we started talking about people, students with body odor and shit for half an hour?
Oh, you were asking us about like. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Oh, my musical influences.
That's where we were an hour ago. Yeah,
musical influence.
But I grew up in like 80s,
good stuff,
80s
man.
Pop radio bullshit, man. And then as I started coming into it on my own, that's when all the Metallica, bro.
And then then it's like
listen to the tough shit. What I'm saying?
Whatever, poser. You just like nothing else matters, poser.
Can't be a pussy. Yeah, so that's when I started getting into more like the heavy stuff, right? So, but like just recently, man, I went back and I was learning, what is it, Stepping Up by Peter Jackson.
I don't know that, but I know Peter Jackson directed those terrible Hobbit movies and King Kong.
Recognize it.
Okay, right, not that good.
It's a different Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson.
It's from like 79 or 81 or something like that. And it's
shoot me.
I go look it up. I bet you like it. You'll probably learn it on the piano too.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Like I like old Phil Collins and shit. Like all the chord progressions,
old Genesis stuff.
Something different, Yeah, I think what really got me inspired to like take guitar to a different level was oddly enough.
Smashing Pumpkins.
It was Siamese Dream. I started hearing sounds on there that I'm like, I ain't heard this shit before. And he just did that run in like a really quirky.
I always kind of forget about those guys because I was never a huge. Yeah,
not all their stuff.
It's funny. I always like. It's like you got your big four thrash guys. Well, you kind of have the same with the grunge, right? The Titans of the Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Pearl Jam, and Nirvana, obviously. But I forget, like Smashing Pumpkins was another huge band. They're a massive influence to a lot of people. I think it's weird because I think it was like Billy Corgan had that voice that I was just like, ugh, I can't stand this, and I didn't give him a chance, But obviously, I think they did some pretty uniquely, intentionally gross things that was just different. You know what I mean?
That's how I was.
Axl. A lot of people hate Axl's voice. Yeah.
I fucking poor Slash. I never listened to him because I couldn't.
But the thing about
which is funny because I would listen to
the thing about Axl though, he's such a sweetheart.
They're like brothers.
Can't help, It's like Dave Mustaine. Yeah, he might not be the greatest singer, but he's just such a nice person. I'm not even talking shit because I'm a huge Guns N' Roses and Megadeth fan. Like, I love those bands, and I know the reputations of those guys, but I still absolutely love their music personally.
Oh yeah,
but I get it. Voices can be a fucking deal breaker.
That's something different. Like I'm not. Yeah, it's just. I don't know. Van Halen was a huge thing.
Yeah, I've never subscribed one way or the other with those guys. I think in my opinion, there's some really great stuff, and there's some stuff from like it's a little too hokey and party music for my taste. But the musicality of those guys were like a goddamn rock and roll party jazz band. I mean, they're nuts. This shit. Their music is so sneaky progressive. I don't think anyone's ever quite been as excessively progressive as those guys. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You start to dissect.
I like how you
it,
said that.
I mean, fuck me, it's nuts, man.
Yeah.
Both of those guys.
Just the Unchained, man.
Oh, really? And see, that sounds
shit for so long, dude.
Yeah, and it sounds simple on this. This is one thing I love about teaching music too, actually, and dissecting songs is because, or transcribing songs is because a lot of times you'll listen to a song. I think oftentimes it's the mark of a great pop song. Not always, like some of them are just dead simple 4/4/3 chords. There's nothing wrong with that. But so many times I found like, holy shit, you start listening and really analyzing. You're like, that was a measure of 3/4. Now that's a key change. That what the hell's the little teeny nuggets, little teeny things that you don't hit you obvious. And it's not like you're trying to do a Rush thing or a Tool. It's not like an obvious progressive thing.
It's like they slip
and
them
the
in
Beatles
there
were like masters of that shit, man. And every
you.
time I learn, it's almost like I get giddy every time I learn a Beatles song because there's always some goddamn clever thing, that you're just like, God, the Beatles did it again,
Man, when I saw y'all like Big Butt, man. Y'all played
Yeah,
Norwegian Wood, dude.
That's one of the easy ones. There's
nothing. Song,
there's no tricks really up the sleeve there.
Yeah, it's funny because as a kid, that was. I respect and I like the Beatles. But
I remember that too. Like I was lucky enough when my parents had a lot of classic. They had a handful of classic rock albums that were all iconic classics. And so I always liked the Doors from the time I was a little kid. I had heard a little bit of Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. I can cite all the albums, right? CCR, Greatest Hits. And I remember, but then I remember coming into the teenage years and getting into Guns N' Roses, starting to play guitar. And I remember seeing I think CDs were just now becoming a thing, and it's like, I was like, the Beatles, no, they're just kind of like old. No. And then like now when I have students, I'm just like, dude, the Beatles are. Here's what bugs me too, right? Like we can talk shit about certain bands, like Green Day. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. You can argue about the voice. Same with Smashing Pumpkin. But the guys that go like, I hate the Beatles. I just can't even like what. That's like saying I hate water. I hate air. You know what I mean? Like it's just silly to me. Like the Beatles are just so fucking. They've influenced everything.
They're all around you, bro. It's everywhere.
They're who they are for a reason, man. Case closed. You're wrong. You lose. I mean, like every fucking Beatles song, like hardly ever wrote a bad song. Like once in a while, I hear a Beatles song that I'm like, some deep cut, and I'm like, okay. But that's like, for every 30 Beatles songs that are brilliant, like one's like okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's still good though. Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah, dude.
What was I gonna say? Jackson 5, man. Jackson 5, bro. Like, I realized this a while back, running clubs and stuff, but there's not a soul in the world that won't dance to that shit. Like, if you hear, Want You Back or something in the grocery store, every motherfucker.
Because Joe Jackson was a taskmaster, man. He fucking whooped those kids'
ass.
That's
a powerful thing, man. Yeah.
They didn't have a childhood. There's a reason Michael Jackson was super fucking
into that,
fucked up, man. He didn't have a childhood. I think that's why he was manifesting all that weirdo shit. But yeah, goddamn, what a natural. First of all, he was just an inherent talent to begin with, just an absolute natural gift. But they were amazing.
You just made me think of something talking about that. So, what did we learn from going on that tour, Matt?
Oh,
about singing.
None of the rest of us are Michael Jackson. Yeah, dude.
No, you gotta take care of your voice, man. Drink a lot of water. Dude, singing your ass off, night after night after night after night. You gotta maintain it and take care. This is, I'm sure, why a lot of these guys develop drug problems and stuff like that because there's so many people making money that you can't afford to miss out on that gig.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They got you on steroids.
Just like an athlete. Just like a fucking athlete. Dude.
So you keep singing so they can make their money. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about you until you die. They'll run you into the fucking ground. Like, look at Ozzy, man. That guy, I don't know how the hell he's still. I love Ozzy, but it's no secret. Sharon's back there like,
well, they're all listening.
Sharon, I can't move. Ozzy,
they're all playing the tracks, dude. Like Kiss is playing
like Sharon.
Yeah, they gotta stand
God bless
there.
Ozzy. He's the best. So, it probably are tuning down. I'm sure they're not in their keys, but they. I mean, Jesus, man. I mean, when you're that old, I mean, and only Mick Jagger's like the true freak that's somehow still running around at 80, doing the splits and and all this. One thing about Michael Jackson, and this was a guy that used to play with the Jacksons in the 70s that we had on our podcast, someone that I've worked with out in LA that's a trumpet player, brilliant musician, and this guy's played with so many people, and it was awesome talking to him. Anyway, what he was talking about when he met Michael Jackson, he said, he met the whole band, rehearsed with the whole band. He's like, well, is Michael going to be here? Don't worry about Michael. He knows the tunes. He knows. So they were rehearsing. He was like, and then on hits, Michael will give us the cue. Michael will do that. And he's like, well, no, he knows everything. We're good. And he said, and then he met all the guys, and he said he met Michael real briefly. But he said it made perfect sense. He was said because he was saving his voice. He was taking care of his voice. And I never thought of that. And I wonder if that is the reason why Michael Jackson was always so soft spoken, because he was it might be part of it.
Well, I'm sure that might be part of it, because I know, you and I probably more than anybody know, you're singing the whole time, but you're also doing the whole schmoozing thing where you're like talking to everybody and all this stuff. And you see a lot of
singers, makes sense.
Get called.
I feel like dude, if I fucking had that luxury, I'd be all about it. And it wouldn't be it wouldn't be based on ego. It wouldn't be to be a snob. But if I had someone else that would set up, a roadie crew. Yeah, you go get warmed up. Warm up your voice. A great example. Yeah. Skid Row was one of my favorite bands when I started playing guitar. Right on the heels of me discovering Guns N' Roses, I got into Skid Row and Slave to the Grind. To this day, one of my favorite albums. And so I always used to be like, man, Skid Row, like my favorite band in high school and stuff. And then then my fiance, crazy, all these years later, I meet her and she's got a nose chain and plays bass because of Rachel Bolan. She's this huge Skid Row fan. I'm like, what world am I in right now? This is amazing. And recently we saw Skid Row in Vegas when they opened for the Scorpions, and we got a press pass with our friend Kaylee. You know Kaylee Rose, right? You know her?
Nice.
Yeah, Kaylee's fantastic photojournalist.
We're not like buddies,
writer. She's done a lot for us. Her documentary is awesome. So, but anyway, she shot them before, and actually introduced me to Rob Hammersmith, their drummer, who came on our podcast too. Super nice guy. We had a great time. And so whenever they were playing out in Vegas, I got a friend out there, met up, my fiance flew out there. We all got press badges. And so we just got to hang out with Skid Row, and we got to hang out with them in their dressing room. They're just the nicest guys, man. They were so, so great. But my whole point of this story is their current singer, who is fucking phenomenal. I got to see him backstage doing his thing, and the guy was such a nice guy. We're like hanging out, having coffee in the dressing room and fucking around, and he's like, do you guys mind if I warm up? I'm like, oh my god, you're the singer, please do us the honor. And this guy, but he was doing some kind of thing with water, like he was doing some kind of throat thing. He was doing vocal exercises, and then he just went in I think it was like a bathroom adjacent, where you get great acoustics anyway, right? And we could just hear it. And he was just playing a bunch of Guns N' Roses song on this beautiful Taylor guitar and belting out these goddamn songs, not in the style of Axl, by the way. But man, I was like, and this dude was not fucking around. He was warming up for hours, but he kills it. He kills it on stage, but
that's crazy, man.
Oh, I imagine.
I was just watching a thing with Miles Kennedy talking about that. And he was like, I used to do that, but then I realized,
sure,
I'm being it was interesting to hear him talk about it, because I can kind of relate, because there's a point where
you have to know
doing damage
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Or
well, dude, here's what I do, and it's not ideal, because then you get to the show and like you said, what are you doing? All the things you shouldn't be doing. You're drinking beer, you're talking, you're doing all the things you should not be fucking doing. But regardless, usually on the way to a show, I will at least try to sing a few songs, push my limits, so not overdo it. And you really learn how to do this, right? Like if we rehearse the night before a show, I sing, but I don't go, I sing 90%, or on certain parts, I don't go for that fucking super big scream.
Leave a little headroom.
There's no point in doing that and potentially damaging anything. So you really there's an art to that shit. I think it's like that way with any instrument, but most of all with vocals, because vocals are the most temperamental, touchy thing. People don't realize, man, too. And I someone was telling me this one time. I think it was about outcast. It was really cool. Like they were saying before a tour or something, their manager, I guess, made them jog every day. I don't even know if this story is true, but whatever. Like made them jog every day and sing the whole album while they were jogging. And it makes it or whatever the performance was, whatever the whole album. Because it makes it's totally different to be in a studio doing take after take on a microphone, taking a break, having a drink, than it is to go on stage for 45 minutes to an hour straight while you're under the hot lights, you're sweating, you're running around, you get winded especially when you start actually
getting winded,
front man, and you can fucking run around. So you got to train. I mean, you don't have to be like immaculate shape, but there is a certain amount of endurance and training. And I know from COVID, the first show we played in April, which unfortunately was a benefit, which was at Fitzgerald's. Did you guys know Ronnie? Right, you were at that show, right? I think so. I remember that.
I think I was there.
Oh, that was a horrible show for me, man. Horrible. Yeah. We had our buddy Chris Bauer filling in for that because, but we literally did, and Chris has played with us before. We did rehearsal right before the show. I had not been keeping up with my shit. I had not been singing much. And even at rehearsal, when I was like, hey, I'm going to kind of hold back, even with that 75%, by the end of rehearsal or even midway into rehearsal, I knew I was like, I am fucked. Like, I am not going to – I was having on that particular show, I was having to drop down an octave. I mean, I was struggling bad, man. It was just like – I knew it. I was like, I'm not in shape. I cannot sing these songs. You kind of take for granted some of the stuff that you actually get to where you could do relatively easy because your body, your muscle memory gets used to it. You walk away from that shit for 6 months, a year. Oh, you're – 100%, man. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't use it, you lose it. Yeah. There's when we got him, right, we were doing the 3-piece thing like you were talking about earlier. And back in the day, I'm used to having, I could run around and I was like, oh, I used to do this, right? So he joins the band. We play our first show with him. I finally was free, right? Yeah. I think it took me one song and I was gassed because I just hadn't done it. It made me realize, oh shit, I better go jogging again or whatever. Like, man,
Vic, once you finally get my ass on the mat, dude, like I'm gonna be killing it with vocals. I feel because I'm gonna get my endurance build up, man. I gotta get. This is my.
This thing.
Okay, it's true. Like you got stamina, man.
It'll happen.
No, Vic does jujitsu though.
Oh
Do you sing, Vic?
No. That Matt stamina is totally different.
Well, any kind of cardio is better than no cardio, which is my current regiment. So,
I've seen it. Yeah, I know it.
Oh yeah.
Really briefly back when it was kind of fashionable in maybe the late '80s or something when I was a kid. But like, my dad somehow managed to run both mine and my brother's skateboards over. So I don't know if that was an accident. Yeah, so it didn't last too. It didn't last too long.
Purpose, man. He's like,
yeah, exactly.
If I don't do this,
like, oh darn! I ran over the other one too. Yeah, said just got this obnoxious jackass.
No, I do this. When I went back, like I've known how to sing or whatever, but when I was in high school, I kind of wanted to go get some more lessons or whatever. And so there's this warm up that my vocal coach had taught me then that I still use all the time. Where you stick like a kettle weight works great because it's concentrated, right? But you lay on the ground, stick it straight on your diaphragm, and get something that's like 25 pounds, 30 pounds. That way you can feel it. And the gravity.
That's a good idea. Okay.
Makes you have to breathe correctly. So I like to do that before I go to sing. And it's really just about the breathing, right? It's just getting you to do it, get in the right place properly. But one thing I noticed too is, I don't know how many times
I kind of do a pretty loud, like, I kind of, because the last thing you want to do is just be like, hello, check 1, 2. I do certain things, like I'll go like, I try to get those high syllable, like sibilants in there to make sure it's not going to feed back on that. I'll do the basic talk, and then I'll I try to put out a yell or two to kind of get a relative volume, but.
I'm just curious because I never hear anybody singing, so I don't know if I yelled at you. Or
yeah,
I was like, We need to sing.
That's, not a bad idea.
Some of my warm up during the mic show.
Oh, well, I love being,
I'll belt out
That's one nice thing about going first at a show is when you get that sound check and being able to just kind of get dialed in and then do a song or two, right? Get kind of loosened up a little bit and actually sing for real before you just dive right into that first goddamn song, you know? Because there's definitely shows where in the first song, and lately, I don't know if you know the new Good Rogering album, tunes that well, but the title track, which is like 1 and 2 bleed together, the title track has the hardest vocals on the entire album. I mean, it's in the chorus is in the fucking stratosphere, and we've been opening shows with that 1-2 punch, so it's like right out the gate, I'm like, it's just so. It's really hard. I feel like the last few shows I've been like in my mind, I'm like, "Whoo, I think I did okay." But there's a few where I'm just like, and I probably we probably didn't play at that show, April one or whatever 2021. But yeah, I mean, it's so funny, man. Like you said, it's just a muscle memory thing. It's consistency because even songs that I struggled with once upon a time and then got to where they were like a piece of cake. Didn't play him for a year, and then all of a sudden I was like, fuck, I can't sing this song again, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot on our first few podcasts, but, you know, I mean, I know I'm going to be 30 next year, but I'm just accepting it, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be 27 again. I'll stay in that club, you know? Yeah, no, I just... when I was probably like 19 or whatever, I was
definitely never a tenor, man.
All that, no problem or whatever.
The funny thing about me is like
it's a little
I always
tougher
struggled,
now,
always still do with singing and the confidence of singing. So it's like to me, it's the highest compliment if someone asks me to do something vocally or compliments me because that's always been the biggest struggle for me. I know my limitations on guitar and stuff, but I was never super self-conscious about my guitar ability as opposed to, but at the same time, I always had my music in my head, and I knew from an entertaining standpoint, I was like pretty adept for a frontman. It was just, I had to really struggle early on with AGR with the confidence factor and then the realization of what I could and couldn't do at the time. And now I'm so much more comfortable. I progressed. So it's funny for me. I actually think I became a much better singer in my 30s, you know? Yeah.
No, that's a real thing.
Yeah, it really is. You know,
actually. You got to get past. That's like probably the biggest hurdle.
And finding your voice, just finding like what your voice is. And I listen to certain things, and I mean, it's like it's just it is what it is. It's just like the singers we were talking about. It's funny because it's the same thing that's what some people absolutely adore, and other people just can't stand. It's very personal. The timbre and quality of a person's voice, their lyrical content, and Roger Waters is another great example of kind of a weird. Not traditionally pleasing voice, you know, but his lyrics are fucking second to none. You know, I mean, Gilmore seems like an angel in my opinion, but even Roger Waters, I love his voice. That's a cool thing. Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, whatever, right? Maybe they're not these traditional. We can't all be fucking Freddie Mercury, right? But their voice. Yeah, I mean, Freddie Mercury's such an exception, right?
Well, even he wasn't first.
God, but I mean, or.
Well, he went out the first album. I don't know if you know this, but he hated it. He was like,
I didn't know.
Then he started taking lessons. Yeah, Brian May will talk about it on interviews or whatever. But yeah, he was like,
I'll be damned.
He couldn't sing. He went and took lessons on the first album. That's what happens a lot of times.
Well, I was about to say, that happened to me too until you said the I made money part. I wish that would have been part of it. But yeah, right after we did the first album and I got my ass handed to, I was so frustrated. I had to, because I had all these melodies in my head. And of course, what do? You can humdy-dum them in your apartment or whatever, but then you go into a studio, you go sing them for real in the live, loud context of a band. And I'm like, wow, I can't sing the shit I wrote. And I had to rewrite some of the early stuff. There's a lot of rap, is not the right word, but very staccato kind of talking. It was all rewritten with the melodies that I had sang way in the background with a bunch of reverb because the melodies weren't strong. My vocals were not strong enough to make the song. And to this day, like some of my best friends, which I value their opinion because they're as brutal as much as it's like, fuck you. It's good to know, like when someone back then who was just like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Your vocals suck. I'm like, well, fuck you too, asshole. But that same person now, if they're like, man, you sound awesome. These are the best songs you've ever done. I'm like, that means something because I know this guy's not going to bullshit me, you know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it is still something that, it's like I'm not, I wouldn't, I mean, I guess I'm a singer, but I'm just like, I wouldn't say like I'm some like amazing vocalist, but you just find your voice, you know?
Well, I think a lot of us, like true musicians, well, I think, a lot of times if you want to see something to realization or whatever, it's kind of
100%.
A lot of times people are doing shit just out of necessity, It's like
that's it, and it might have taken 10 years of struggle to do it, but at the end of that, you look back and you're like, well, okay, I mean, that was progress. I think you become better at all the things. Like, how can you not become better, right? I mean, you become better at writing songs, like we were talking about, like understanding your brand, marketing it, singing, whatever the case may be. I mean, props to you, by the way, as a vocalist. I mean, you're a great vocalist, man. You have a great voice. Like when I see you, I'm like, all right, this fucking guy can actually sing, for real. So yeah, dude.
Well, that's part of why I do that thing when we start off the mic check. I'll blast out something.
You're like, oh,
that really gets people's attention.
Yeah, they're like,
they're like,
oh,
shit,
it's not that a good rock band that
just
played. Let's hang out. Let's watch these guys. It does. Yeah.
No, but it sets the tone, and then they're a little curious about what the fuck we're about.
So here's the thing, man, and
that's kind of
Tim showed up, and I've just been talking for 4.5 hours. Vic and I have been saying this forever, and it just never seems to work because we always have such a blast talking. Really, it's because Matt just talked too much through this podcast, and it just would just not shut the fuck up. But
I know, right? You ought to meet his. You got to meet his twin brother. Let's
just have him. Maybe if he hosted the podcast, these things would actually get wrapped up because I wouldn't blab the whole time. But he's been ready to go for like 4 hours.
All right, you fuckers, shut up. Man. Let's get out of here.
Can I go to Taco Cabana and just get the fuck out of here already?
You know what it is? I think for both me and you, right? Like,
I don't know. Like for some reason,
something has to be done, right? Like,
yeah.
Like I feel like I talk sometimes. Like I feel like we've been talking a lot, right? I feel like I do that when
I know what it is with me. I'm an all or none person in like every capacity. Like I said, if I get in that moment, and once I'm in that moment in a studio, I'm fucking in it. But getting me there, it's like I'm like a little kid, like with ADD, and it's like once I get focused on something, like then I'm like all in that moment. But I'm either like all in that moment, or I'm fucking all over the place, and unable to like. That's what I feel like. I'm a fucking toddler. So I just come on here and it's like someone's shaking keys in my face. And I'm like,
that's why I'll smoke weed, right? Like
I hear that, man.
Like I'm kind of the same way, right? Like it's all over the place.
My problem is like, I hear that 100%. My problem is I smoke a bowl and my focus becomes Cobra Kai. I just watch fucking Netflix, man. Although I do kind of I don't like to perform stoned or anything like that. Like I like to be sober, but I do like.
Me neither.
Sometimes it's great to like, especially if you're in your own head. If you've got writer's block, if you're frustrated technically, if you do that and just kind of loosen up. Like I love to just like do that and then play jazz or something, right? Because it just lets me be more free and not worry and think so much. And I tend to feel like, wow, this sounds great, and then. Maybe you record it, and maybe it's great, and maybe it's garbage. But I think it's I like to write and just be creative on that. But I don't know how guys perform all stone, man. Shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, man. So I love this because it's probably going to be a minute before this comes out. They usually take a while, but like we're so far off that it's great. We can actually advertise December 2nd at the Amp Room. All Stories End EP. How many tracks are on the EP? 6-song EP release. I'm so excited to be playing that show with you guys, man. It's always a pleasure to play with you guys.
Maybe 7.
6 or 7 or 10 or 15. Or
last time we did this on the album. Yeah, we took a song on the last album.
Dude, well, I was going to put on an EP like 4 years ago, and I recorded like 4 songs, and then the pandemic happened. I was like, I'm going to add another song. Then finally, I was like, fuck it, I'm making an album. You know what I mean? Like at that point. So, but anyway, man. So, what do you have going on in the interim? Like, is this all tracked? Are you still finishing things in terms of the album? Okay.
I've got to go back and sing one song. and it's Matt's song that he wrote.
We have to redo a certain portion of my song.
No, I don't have to redo anything. I just need to get in there and sing the vocals.
Cool.
We just need the vocals, basically.
Okay.
Then we'll ship it
and
off.
where did you guys do that again?
And yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah, keep me posted on vinyl. I still haven't gotten on that whole damn thing, but I can blame it on supply chain issues, so that's fine. No, I think vinyl pressing done correctly is a time. It takes time for sure. But yeah, man, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that, and wishing you guys continued success. People can find you. Is it a .com you guys got? You don't have a website.
Right now, we don't have a website. The one I had.
All the normals.
Redo a new
are you?
Right now, you can find us on Instagram.
Are you dancing and eating Tide Pods on TikTok, or haven't crossed that bridge yet? Okay, good. Glad to.
Of course.
Glad to hear you with the times. Spotify, Apple Music, etc. YouTube, go subscribe to the channel. Go listen to All Stories End, everybody. Any final thoughts? Got anything to leave us with?
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it, man. This was fun.
I definitely we grilled some fuckers, or I did. I don't know, but not you guys. No. Yeah, man. Absolutely, absolute pleasure. Dude.
No, we do. Thank you very much for having us on, man. We do really appreciate it.
Yes.
I hope everybody has a better couple of years than they've been having.
I think that's a great thing.
Try to stay positive.
All right, there you have it. Once again, it's been Skunk Manhattan. Skunk Manhattan. I couldn't even say my name. And what? Buy my shit.
Buy my shit. No.
Yeah, look, we're all like, let's all throw our product. Look at me. I'm all fucking Invincible Czars, Good Rogering, All Stories In. Tool doesn't need any more money. They're already rich. Tool. Go buy that little band no one's ever heard of called Tool, everybody. Yeah, like you said, that's the thing, right? It's like such a big deal because it's not such a that they've really done that well, and they've really got that loyal following for that. Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do,
especially nowadays. Now in the singles world, you got to keep putting out. You got to keep doing this. You got to keep doing that. I think there's definitely a truth to that, especially for a younger band. That's not. I mean, it is different when someone's already established and mainstream and has been for years and years. All those bands came up at a different time that doesn't exist anymore, right? But I don't know. I still think that there's value to striking that balance and having a bit of mystique and a bit of, like that whole idea. So. Anyway, All Stories In. Thank you guys, Chris and Matt, for joining us. This has been Skunk Manhattan and Victor Ramos. Until next time, take care.
Hey, folks, that concludes another episode of the podcast. Guest links will be available in the show notes. We'd like to thank our friends at Top Shelf Music for showcasing the podcast on their site. Be sure and check them out at topshelfmusicmag.com for the latest music news, reviews, and events. We'd also like to thank the folks over at Tragan Guitars, Godin Guitars, Ernie Ball Strings, and 5 Iron Woodworks. Have a great week, and catch you on the next one.